Wake the dead.
Wake the dead. Wake the dead.
With Sean McCann.
Yeah, Frank is an interesting character. He's got a lot of the same symptoms of a schizophrenic, but he's got them walled off, which is really unusual. I mean, if schizophrenics could learn to do what he did, they could function.
Right.
Well, what's interesting about you, Frank, is you've kind of compartmentalized it in another part of your mind. You know, instead of it running over you, you've kind of, which most people can't do, is you put up a barrier there, and you can open the door and say, okay, come on in for a minute or two, but then get back out again. You know?
So, I've had to, Jerry, because, the first few years I was just in a panic. It was controlling my life. And I made that decision to stop, to just, it is what it is. I've got to accept it. I'm responsible for myself, for what I did. I don't blame anyone. And I have to live with it. And if I kept going the way I did, I probably wouldn't be here today. I would have just had enough and not been able to deal with it mentally. But I've chosen the other way, and it's hard.
See, most people can't do that. Most people can't do that. They're invaded by these things, and they're tormented by them. And they're going 24 hours a day. They just keep going. Yeah. And you seem to be able to kind of compartmentalize it and say, okay, it's there, but give it its own territory. So like you said, you were sharing your consciousness with it.
Right. And I think that because you have to be symbiotic in order for it to live inside of you. So
for sure.
I think that maybe it takes your consent for it to live there. I think that's part of the rules, and if it heals your pain a little bit, if it gives you benefits somehow, and it doesn't bother you quite so much, it can still feel all your feelings and be there in your body. That's what they want. So from what I've learned about non-corporeal entities, a lot of them are humans that don't progress. Like that when they die, they're stuck here from their sin, and they're not given another body, or they're not brought to the next realm. So they're trapped here, and they don't have any way to feed. They crave being in a body. Like that's what they want. They want to have a body again. So they make deals to ride in. You give, if you sign the deal with the devil or whatever, he gives you power this life, but the next life he rides in like every other reincarnation. It's like you're inviting him, I think that might be related to that.
I think you mentioned, Frank, and I talked to somebody else who had the same thing when Sean, when you said, they fix things, they get rid of aches and pains, that kind of, I think I've spoken to two people where that happened, where the entity actually went and fixed some aches and pains, and one guy was driving them around with a strong magnet. So where that pain was, he'd put the magnet there and the pain would move somewhere else. So he'd chase it around his body. Yeah. So I'm learning a lot from all these people I'm talking to.
Yeah.
I'll try that. Yeah,
give it a try. Get a real strong. What do they call them? Molybdenum magnets, or the real strong ones.
Strong ones,
like an industrial one or whatever.
Give that a shot and see, because he said he actually chased it around his body with the magnet.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you'd think that maybe magnetism is one of the forces that they can. There's certain forces that they can wield, maybe magnets, magician, the whole mag. And that whole idea is related to magic. That's where the word came from. I don't know if it's related.
They are
It is an
energetic.
energy. Yeah,
They're,
it's
they're,
an energy
they're,
being.
they're
Right.
energy beings, so they're energetic.
Right.
Um,
But they're not in this time. They're like beyond
well,
time,
yeah, there is
where
no
there is
time.
no time. Right.
There is no
Yeah,
time. There is no
Yeah.
space. There is no
Right.
matter where they're at.
That's
why
right. I think time is related to, like, in order to have time and space and gravity, they all have to be related. You can't have one without the other. I think
right.
gravity is related to time itself, and that these are all forces that are interlinked. And for us to be in this realm, we have to deal with those forces. They don't have those. They can
No, they don't.
somehow they can peer into this world.
So that's why the MACE energy system works very well. This was discovered by a ship captain, a merchant marine ship captain,
Right.
who was brilliant. And it's an energetic system that takes into account the spiritual being of the person,
Right.
which these things feed off of trauma.
Yes.
They can go into your mind. They can pull up all the garbage that you got there, every rotten thing you've ever done, and rub it in your face.
Right.
So the MACE energy system, you can go in there, and with that, you can get to that trauma with the person's spirit helping, and then you can discharge that trauma.
Right.
But I'm using that in my practice, and it works great. I mean, it gets
wonderful.
rid of all the garbage that these things feed off of, so that eventually they will starve to death.
Right. And in a sense, like, it's also related to sin. If you have this thing that's in your memory that you regret, like that you did wrong, and it's morally wrong, it uses that against you.
Yeah.
That's why, like, religions are saying, like, sin is the work of the devil, right? Or these, that's how they get their hooks in you, and that's why they promote this sinful life. I mean, it all kind of fits with the Christian theosophy, I guess. I don't know. It all kind of, it makes sense that we humans have been thinking about the Western world, but I mean, at least thinkers have been thinking on this for all this time, and it all kind of jives. Like Frank's experience with the hallucinogens, the schizophrenics experience, the people like Moses and Jesus that had these experiences of, like, even Muhammad was like, he would have seizures, and and would have the visions. Like, I think that, like, all of this is the same language that's just coming being expressed in different ways from different cultures.
Well, yeah, that's true. But these things are out there.
Yeah.
I was talking to one lady the other day who she went in for an operation, and under anesthesia, when she woke up, there they were. They were stuck in her head, bashing her, running her down, tricking her. They usually start off like, "Oh, we're special, we're guardians, we're Jesus Christ, we're something good." And once they get their hooks in you, yeah, right. Liars. Once they get their hooks in you, they're,
right. You lose control, right? You don't have the control anymore,
right? And that happens with meth addicts a lot too. I've seen scores of people that have gone psychotic on meth.
Right.
I mean, it just opens up whatever, and they just walk in there, and they start hallucinating. They start, like, during a trip, they take a lot of meth. They start hearing voices. They go, their hallucinations.
Right.
After they come down, they're gone. Next time it kind of happens again. They come down, they're gone, and then one day they come down and they're not gone. Right. They're stuck with them, and they're just as psychotic as any of the patients in the psych hospital.
It's kind of like how, like, with the drinkers or whatever, they keep getting a tolerance keep going up and up, and then there's a breaking point where, like, they can have like 2 sips and they're all of a sudden drunk because they, like, broke the wires.
Oh, well, that's that they call that reverse tolerance, which is real strange, because they hit a point where they don't get drunk anymore. They drink and they get sick.
Oh, okay.
And what's so strange about it is it progresses. So if they drink, they get sicker as time goes on. So alcohol is no longer an option for them. Those are really bad ones.
Yeah, totally.
They're fairly rare, but they're right. Alcohol is no longer an option for them. Right. They drink, they get sick as dogs.
I knew a guy that I met in institutions. I have history with cannabis and other drugs, and I went to jail for selling cannabis and all, and 20 years ago when I was a kid. I did a boot camp program to be released early, and in the boot camp, I was like, we were there with these other dudes, these other people, and like they'll give you the bracelet and like let you out with this thing on your leg that keeps track of you, and you have to stay next to the monitor in your house. You can't like leave your house, but then your house is your jail cell, right? So it's way better than being in an institution. So like that's the goal. That's what the carrot that they got us going. And so we did 10 weeks of boot camp, and it was run by ex-military guys that CEO corrections officers that were ex-military, which happens to be a lot of them, by the way. But anyway, there was a gentleman there from a town. He was a biker that sold cocaine, and he did a lot of cocaine and uppers, and his face would just jump around like tardive dyskinesia, almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
And the drill instructors would yell at him and say, "Quit making your face do jumping jacks," and he would be embarrassed and he can't make it stop. And we would like try to hold our laughter, but the neurological damage has happened, and like he smoked crack so much that it just like snapped, and then his brain is just doing this forever. He doesn't need to get high anymore. It's just like, so I wonder if that is like similar to what Frank has gone through with the harmaline, the MAO inhibitor, and maybe that with the certain, like with all the levels of hallucinogens that he's done.
Well, yeah, something
the meth addicts too. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, something broke with Frank.
Greetings and welcome to another edition of Wake the Dead. Today we are blessed to have returning guest Jerry Marzinsky and his friend Frank, who has quite a story to tell. Jerry, welcome.
It's good to be back. And
awesome.
For those of you who don't know me, I've spent my entire career working in mental health.
Right.
Worked in the biggest psychiatric hospital on the planet. I've worked in the psychology department of a state prison for 18 years. I've worked in the emergency rooms doing psych crisis. I've got a private practice working with schizophrenics. I've been studying the voice of schizophrenics here virtually my entire career. Now, the psychiatric mafia will tell you they are hallucinations. I'm telling you they are not. They run specific patterns. And for those of you out on the front lines working in mental health, these are the patterns. You can see them for yourself. And Frank will be pointing them up to you, or I'll point them up to you as Frank speaks. The voices are negative. They virtually say nothing good. They're anti-religious. They don't like the person going to church, reading the Bible, doing any kind of positive spiritual path. They foster and create negative emotion. That's what they want to do. They feed off of that negative emotion. They will energetically drain their victims. And I've had a number of people say they could feel their energy leave when the voices came. And this is a common pattern. The voices show up. The people are drained of energy. They can't get out of bed. These things get louder after sunset for some reason. The voices get louder when they're ignored. So I've heard the psychiatric mafia say, "Oh, just ignore them. Just ignore them. They're not real." No, they won't be ignored. You try to ignore them, they get louder. They foster self-destructive behavior. They get the person to say things that they don't want to say. They get them in trouble. They want to break up the family. They want to break up friends. They want to break up marriages. They want to break up girlfriends and boyfriends. They demand the attention of their victim. You can't just wall them out. Look, Frank has been able to do that, and he's one of the only people I know who has. They maneuver for increased control. They're always after more and more control. They gaslight. They lie constantly. They manipulate perception. They have complete access to the schizophrenic's memory. They can go in there, they can pull up every rotten thing they ever did, and they can throw it in their face to generate that negative emotional energy. They are non-physical. They are energetic entities. There is no time. There is no space. There is no matter where they live. They demand the victim not tell anybody else about their presence. They don't like that. They don't like the people who are hearing voices talk to anybody about them. And psychiatry is the same way. You know, oh, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. They're hallucinations. Just, get on with, take the drugs and get on with it. They're consummate liars. You can't believe anything they say for the most part. 99% of what they say is a lie. And if they tell you the truth, it's only to come around behind you and get you later. They consistently steer their victim away from anything that might generate joy. They don't want the person to be happy. They don't want them to be peaceful. They don't want them to be pleasant. They want pandemonium all the time. They can manipulate feeling without speaking. They can short-circuit reason. And boredom is the worst thing you can allow to happen. If you're hearing voices, do not allow yourself to get bored. Focus your attention on something, because it's the battle for your attention.
Idle hands are the devil's playground.
Exactly right.
Right.
They try to pass themselves off as thoughts belonging to the victim, which is one of their most devious traits. If they can get the victim to believe that it's their own mind talking to them, that these are their own thoughts, then they got them.
Right.
Because,
then you trust it.
Then you trust it, because it sounds just like you for the most part.
Right.
It sounds like the victim. And, from the time we're born, we're told all your thoughts are yours. Where else do they come from? No, these do not come from the person. They come from outside.
A lot of us are also told that we are just our body and we're just material, and when we die, that's it. There's a lot of things that we're told that are probably very much not true. So
yeah, this is a spiritual battle. This is not anything physical. Psychiatry and the psychiatric mafia have been looking for a physical reason, a physical cause of schizophrenia for decades. They found nothing. There is no physical reason they can find. So they made one up. They made it up. It's a chemical imbalance in the brain.
Right. A committee came together and just decided.
Yeah.
Right.
It's bullcrap.
Right. They just abracadabra. They created. Right. Yeah.
Because they said so. We're the experts. It's a chemical imbalance. What else could it be?
Right.
And they haven't ever been able to find it. And then it's been disproven over and over again.
That's great.
So they're like on thin ice. Because they don't have a physical cause like regular doctors. You have
it's all the illusion of what they tell you.
Right. And their DSM, their dictionary of mental illnesses, totally made up. Totally
Diagnostic
fabricated.
Statistical manual.
Right. They got 300 and something in there now. They increase them every couple of years. They make them up, and then the big pharma comes up behind and goes, we got a drug to treat that.
Right.
None of these drugs cure anything. They cure nothing.
In the last episode where you joined us on Wake the Dead, Jerry, we showed a clip of somebody going to many different doctors with the same symptoms, and there was just this long list of just the wide array of anything that they could throw at this person, like every kind of drug you could imagine. They were trying to, you have this and we're going to give you this, and then the next one's totally different. And, it's just a game for them. They're cycling money.
Oh, so they're making a fortune.
You learned all these things. Oh, there's more. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, there's more. So they can get the person to forget selectively. So when I'm working with people who are hearing voices, I'll give them a list of things to do. If they don't write them down, by the time they leave, they forgot 85% of them. Yeah. And once even if they do get them, they forget to use them. So that's one of the big things. They can affect your memory. They fill the victim's mind with all kinds of negative thoughts about themselves or others. They're destructive of the person's self-concept. They attempt to pull their victim away from consensual reality. They use confusion as a means of instilling negative suggestions. They're averse to anything positive or beautiful.
Wow.
Any attempt to one of the biggest things they react to when I was in the emergency room working psych crisis in the emergency rooms, I was trying to give certain patients who I thought could handle it the most information I could about what I knew. So when they left, they knew what they were dealing with, and one of those things was that these things are energetic parasites. They suck their energy. Now I could ask them, do you remember when they come, your energy deletes, it goes away? They show, oh yeah. Where do you think your energy goes? Well, I don't know. Well, every time they come, your energy disappears, right? Yeah. Well, where do you think it goes? And some of them don't get it. You know, it's happened to them thousands of times. Their energy disappears when the voices show up, but they can't make the link.
Right.
The
They're made
voices
to
don't.
forget.
They're made
Right.
to forget, or
Right.
they're just not interested in it.
It just doesn't.
You know,
They can't.
it doesn't gel.
Right.
You know? So those of you working out on the front lines clinically, they're there. You look for them. All these traits are
Right.
there. So they can't be hallucinations, as the psychiatric mafia says, if they're running repeatable, predictable patterns.
Exactly. And many different people, all the same thing.
Right. It's all the same thing.
Right.
Okay.
And
So,
with the, you know, if everybody is a snowflake and different and everybody's brain is different, how is it that each person is having the same experience? Because
right.
it's a predator situation where they are being preyed upon by. So you learned all these things from 40 plus years of psychology and counseling.
Well, I didn't learn anything in psychology and counseling.
Well,
although I took a lot of courses
with these people and like
it was direct experience, right?
And
and what's so devastating about this is when, you know, once you know the cause, once you know that these things are entities and these voices in the person's mind do not belong to them, then they can separate them out and then they can start doing something about it. Right. But as long as they believe the psychiatric mafia's bullcrap about these being hallucinations, it's like, oh yeah, they'll like their ghost. There's nothing you can do about them. Take these tranquilizers and go away.
Right.
You know, so they're actually preventing people from learning the actual cause while they're making a fortune dishing out these toxic medications that they're putting people on. Nobody's getting better. Nobody's being cured by these medications.
Right.
They merely suppress psychiatric symptoms. That's all they do. And these people are making a fortune. Big Pharma is making billions of dollars a year just selling antipsychotic drugs alone. And they're rotting out people's brains. When they showed that, Big Pharma went nuts. The psychiatric mafia went nuts. Oh, no, it's a schizophrenia that's doing that. No, it's not.
Right.
You know, the other more reputable scientists did autopsies and showed that people that were using these antipsychotic drugs for long periods of time, their brains were shrunk like walnuts.
Right. Now they finally have a physical thing that they can point at. Oh, look, but it's only because schizophrenia. Yeah, it only happens once the drug. Yeah.
Right. And they're denying that. And I've never seen a psychiatrist actually run through the serious side effects of these drugs or tell anybody how dangerous they actually were.
Right. And
now there's some people that, you know, they're out of it. They're totally out of it. They can't control themselves. Those are the guys that need to be on these drugs, you know, like the really criminally insane.
If they need to help controlling themselves and they choose, themselves to choose instead of like being ordered by a master. You know, that's one of the things that we spoke about in our last episode, talking about the big pharma cabal, that it's basically all about controlling people.
Control and money.
Right. And money itself is a control system. Like, so it's just top down. The people that they can't control, the, crazy ones, they got to drug them or they got to chain them to the wall, or like, fill them full of insulin and make them go into a coma or whatever. Yeah. It was really sick.
Yeah. That's what they used to do.
Yeah.
Well, let's let Frank tell his story here.
Wonderful. Let's say hello to Frank. Hey, Frank. Thank you for joining us on Wake the Dead today.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
So, Frank, how about starting out just a little bit of your background and then, what you experienced, and what you were doing when this thing entered your body.
Sure.
And now it's still in there. It's still with you right now. But you have it compartmentalized off.
Right. So let's for the listeners, Frank has been afflicted by one of these things, and he's going to tell us about this. He's going to describe his experience. Hopefully, we get to learn a little bit about his experience with this entity or many entities. Could be 7, I guess, from what the shaman said 7 or something. But anyway, I listened to it. But in any case, we want to learn more about your experience firsthand, and it's a pleasure to have you here today. And thank you, Jerry, for bringing Frank to the microphone so that we can all hear his story?
Frank's a brave soul. There's a lot of people that will not speak out about these kind of things, and they're not given a platform to. You know, in all the years I spent in psychology and counseling, I never got to experience these people or work on a psych ward or go into a psych hospital. You know, they don't allow students to get the real experience. You have to believe everything they say based on, oh yeah, it's in the book. But then when you get out into the field and you actually get into a giant mental hospital and you start working with these people, it ain't nothing like what they say.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
I assume that's the same with regular medicine too, and many other professions. You know, they tell you, think like this is the truth. But then when you get there in the field, it's like, oh, these are real people, and it doesn't actually happen that way. And most of the time, it's all about control when it comes down to it. But Frank, tell us what exactly what triggered this? What is it that you think you're living with? Please just start us out, because maybe a lot of listeners haven't heard any of your stories before.
What I'm living with, the entity, I call it, like on my YouTube channel, conscious energy, because that's the best way I can describe it without being too department, you know, categorizing it in, you know, saying, oh, it's the devil or it's a demon or whatever. But I think globally, conscious energy describes it the best. It's an energy being that's attached to my consciousness that many symptoms. But I'll just start with how I got into this. I used to work with psychedelics. Plant medicines is another name as well. It's quite a new age spiritual movement the last 20 years, I suppose. And I discovered a substance, dimethyltryptamine, DMT, which I worked with for quite a few years, getting really positive results. And then I discovered ayahuasca, and I started going to South America and drinking ayahuasca, which is basically the active ingredient is DMT. Everything was going great for years, and then I did another substance, an inhibitor. It's called an MAOI, monoxidase inhibitor, and I combined that with LSD and DMT. And when I did, I basically was being probed by aliens. I took the substance, I blacked out, I came to. I saw beings, basically humanoid shape, made of blue light. They probed my body for maybe half an hour or so. I was seeing holographic images. It was like I was in a futuristic hospital, basically. And there was some type of machine scanning my body, and my body parts are moving by themselves. I could feel the energy every time the machine was scanning a part of my body. I could physically see my body moving and reacting to it. And this went on for a while. And then I sat in a chair, and my arms were waving around, moving for like half an hour. And I was with two other people, and I said, "Hey guys, this is not me." And, you know, they knew something was up. Then at one point, my arms just dropped to my lap, nothing. And I said out aloud, "Now, what now?" And my arm lifted up and reacted. It reacted. And to my surprise, it was just like, wow, something's conscious. Something's inside me that's conscious. So, you know, I worked out a way to get answers from it, to question it, to move my arm up for yes and down for no. And we started questioning it, not really getting any answers. And actually it was contradicting itself. And this went on for quite a bit.
Okay, so that's one of the patterns. It doesn't tell you any truths. You got nothing from it. You know, it's
it
lies
contradicts,
and contradictions.
Because do you think because they can't string them together, each question is separate from the last? Is that why that? I mean, is that what you imagine to be true?
I'm not sure. I've got a few theories. I think maybe it's obvious that it understands English. It's obvious to me, but it's questioning. It's like a bit of a mental block. it just telling. I don't think it. Even if it didn't know the answers to the question, it would give an answer. And just saying anything, just saying anything,
just to satisfy
you couldn't trust.
Right.
You couldn't trust anything it said.
No, well, we got to the question. We got to the question, are you from the future? And it answered yes. So, okay, it's from the future. And then we eventually got to the question, are you human? And it answered yes. So, I'm feeling really amazed at this moment, thinking this is amazing. I've made contact. I actually believed, I knew in my own mind that I've made contact with a human from the future, because that's what it said. And, I wanted to find out more. I wanted more, Anyway, that night there finished, and I woke up the next day and I felt clean, nothing. And I was convinced that I'd have to take off. I'd have to smoke DMT or use substance to make contact. That was my line of thinking, because I spent the whole week clean, fine. And all week I was excited. I've made contact with a human from the future. I'm going to try and do it again next week. And I tried to repeat the progress the following week, and something really bizarre happened. The DMT did not work. I stayed straight, except the only thing that happened was I saw an energy being materialize, and different colors to the first night, to the week previously, more reddish, and entered me. It entered me. And then, wow, okay, I've made contact. Same thing. This went on for a few hours. I went to bed. I woke up the next day and I'm feeling fine. So again, the whole week I'm feeling great. I returned to my friend's place. Yeah, I returned to my friend's. Yes, yes. I watched just a wave of energy. Just a wave of energy. That's what it always feels like, energy. But whenever my consciousness now is at a different level.
Is it like a pressure? Is it like pins and needles?
No, it's
like pressure, maybe. Like
an energy field is the best way I can describe it. It's not painful. It's not pins and needles. It's just feels like there's an energy field around my body, and it's that's what's moving my body parts.
Well, Frank, you said this thing was negative. It would run you down. It would say bad things about you. It would mislead you.
Yeah, it gives me negative thoughts. Like, I don't get the voices like the schizophrenia. It's thoughts, and
right.
And if I didn't have this thing inside me, I would think that it's my thoughts. But because I do have this inside me, I know that it's not me telling sitting next to my mother telling her die or stuff like that. That's just crazy. I would never do that in a million years,
Wow. That's common. It's like, schizophrenics have the same thing. They wouldn't do a lot of the things on their own that the voices are telling them to do. So how did you ferret out the difference between your own thoughts and the thoughts of this thing? How did you determine what's yours and what's theirs?
Yeah, it's quite easy, really. Once I know this thing's inside me, I know it thinks as I think. I know it knows what I know. And when I get these thoughts, straight away, I know it's not me. I just would never say that in a million years. And I would just combat it straight away with, like, love. I just love. I just say that word love.
I heard they hate that. That's another thing. It doesn't like positive.
So you are firm in your your love of yourself, and yourself would not talk like that. So you weren't fooled. Like some people, they have this nihilism, this self-loathing, and they fall right into the trap.
Right.
That is an armor for you, right?
Yeah, I believe that's from my work with the plant medicines. It's made me more compassionate, a better version of myself, more understanding. Definitely, it's because of the work I've done.
They've done the same for me as well. Like a lot of these substances, they are just tools, and it's how you use them. And if you give a hammer to a little kid, he's going to hurt himself. But if you do it correctly and you understand, what it's all about, and you have years experience, then it can be very beneficial for some people's lives. But some people,
Yeah, for sure. But this is why I'm totally against the decriminalization of plant medicines. By the way, Jerry, they've just decriminalized DMT and mushrooms in Colorado.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And iboga, by the way. Iboga, which is stronger
ibogaine, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That is going to heal so many people. That ibogaine heals junkies. It takes away their cravings for like a long time. So, and then all of a sudden they don't need it anymore. They don't need the next bag for the morning. It breaks the. It's amazing.
And that's what DMT does as well. That's what ayahuasca does. But seriously, Sean, what percentage of the population do you think they're going to use these things responsibly? Like you said, you give a hammer to a kid. There's only even the ones that start out wanting to do it medicinally, then they're still not doing it medicinally. They pretend to be. There's so much hypocrisy in the spiritual age movement. That people taking these plant medicines that it's a disguise. They'll find these substances whether they're legal or not, And if they're legal, it just gives, like alcohol, it gives access to more people to these substances that are going to get bad reactions from it.
Well, keep in mind that when they made alcohol illegal is when people start to have trouble with it. And then they legalized it because they couldn't keep the cap on the bottle. Plus, if you understand why LSD became illegal, you'll look and see that Timothy Leary was in front of Congress telling them, yes, you should make it illegal because it makes it more desired by the youth because they want to rebel against society. And then they're told, don't do that. What are they going to do? Like, it's part of the manipulation. And I must disclose, I am an anarchist. I think that all man's laws are wrong. And if you're going to make something illegal, that means that you have to endorse someone with a gun threatening to take the life of an innocent person or to put them in a cage. So if you say this needs to be illegal, you are condoning violence against others. So I understand hammers are harmful, but you can't go around making them illegal and telling somebody with a gun to come bash down your neighbor's door. I just have to say that. So the only thing that will save people is understanding of the truth, knowledge, so that they can make proper choices with their own free will, because that's really all we have. Like if coercion by anybody, government or a mobster or any violence and threats of violence is never the way to fix a problem. So if you want people to use DMT properly, then we need to teach them what it's all about, what the dangers are, what the true benefits are, instead of what government tells us or whatnot. Because we are kept slaves, and if they choose to allow us to do one thing or choose another thing, like all of that is illegitimate to me. God gave us these things. They exist in the world. We can get them whether they tell us we can or can't. Like you just said that also, like people want them, they're going to find them. And really, and whether they're legal or illegal, I think the legalization of cannabis is another way for the government to sink their teeth further into the market, because they understand. Right. Yeah. And they're also poisoning the shit. Like you can't trust the government. Like they're going to use whatever GMO, like what, they approve. Look at what they did to tobacco. It's a sacred plant for the Native Americans. And then, look at all the list of poisons that it's in a Marlboro cigarette. You know what I mean? So that's just, the government is run by satanic eugenicists. We don't want them in charge of our consciousness one way or the other. So I just wanted to say that just because
I believe that they, like you say, this satanic government and all this, I believe that they're controlled by these entities and they don't know it. They have these thoughts and everything, because it's not humanly possible for humans to control the world. Every country and the way the information gets around, it's not physically possible. So I believe that these entities are, in people,
the top of the pyramid. Right.
Exactly.
It goes up to like the certain levels of like smaller and smaller circles of like power
Mm.
in human, but then they speak with ceremonial magic to non-corporeal entities. You
Yeah.
look into the history of the Knights Templar, you find out that they were speaking to a non-corporeal entity named Baphomet. I mean,
Yeah.
Baphomet taught them about fractional reserve banking. And with
Mm.
that, they gained all this power in the world, and they gave the benefit of this, you know. So of course they will serve that master, and that is how the hierarchical structures are designed in the same way as the spiritual hierarchy. And then you look at like the Pope and the cardinals and the bishops and all of that, and it's feudalism and it's control.
Well,
I'll go on and on.
If you listen to these patterns, it's the same stuff that's coming over the mainstream media right now. The same stuff: negativity, anti-religious stuff, negative,
illusions.
negative.
Right.
You know, it's all the same stuff. It's one point for point. You know, you listen to the CNN; it's all the same stuff on a macroscopic scale. But let's get back to your story, Frank.
Channel.
Yeah, right.
Frank, let's get back to your story.
Yeah,
so this thing entered you. You could tell the difference between it and your own thoughts,
right?
Which schizophrenics need to learn to do that. You know, they need to understand that every negative thought about themselves or somebody else doesn't belong to them. It's coming in from a dark side.
Right. You know, I just wanted to before you start just to talk about, in the beginning you said entheogens or hallucinogens, whatever name. The first name that they had was schizophrenogens, because the doctors thought it mimicked schizophrenia, and they changed the name so that it would be more readily taken by the children, because they want to push it on society. And like, if it's schizophrenogen, they have to be scary. I don't want to be like that. But then eventually it turned to entheogen, take God within you. Like, like it became this spiritual thing. And the name has changed over the years, but it started with schizophrenogens, which I thought like relates totally to what we're talking about today and what Jerry has studied for his whole career, you know. Anyway, please continue. So you noticed that it was not yourself. Like you had an understanding that you yourself are love, and you would never think those thoughts, and this must be an invader, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Did you have to battle with it, Frank, to keep it under control? Was there a period of time you had to battle with it?
Yeah. I was, at the time, you know, I was battling with myself more. It was because of, you know, my whole life was falling apart. Everything, you know, my symptoms, everything. I was just a mess. This was mentally exhausting.
Were you a mess before you took the Harmaline with the DMT, LSD?
I was fine.
Okay.
You know, I was fine.
No, I just mean like emotionally, or did you have a trauma thing, or was there something beforehand which maybe erupted out when the drug triggered? Do you understand my question? Like,
not 100%.
Well, like if you had maybe just experienced something real, like if you, you know, killed a dog on the highway or something, and you like felt this emotionally, like moral, like, and it was like eating you up inside, and then you take this like blast off. Sometimes that can like allow for the subconscious to express out what is really wrong inside, you know. Do you think you had a moment like that?
At the time when I originally did this, I was feeling great. I'd recently returned from a retreat in Ecuador. Everything was going great in my life, and I was using these substances, getting results that were really outstanding. I was able to navigate in the DMT realm. And
great. I've only visited. I've never really gotten it. You know, that's great.
I'm able to navigate.
Wow.
Yeah, and see, I've been using high doses for quite a while, And there was nothing wrong with me. There was great. I was in a great surrounding. We were out in the middle of nowhere on a property with two great friends, and there was no sort of negativity or anything reason for.
So
for
these
this.
high doses have never been a problem for you before.
No,
these
no,
these
but
high
it was the
doses
first.
have always been like you're excited and happy, and it's like a communion with yourself, and you love yourself, and like,
Yeah,
you know, all
meeting
of
with
that.
God, everything, breakthrough, amazing. You know, for the following week or so, you're just in a state of bliss. You know,
Right.
there's nothing that can phase you. Just your voice changes, everything. You're calmer, you're more compassionate.
How does your voice change? That's interesting.
Now, Frank, you said you also went to the positive side, so you were seeing angels and positive beings.
Yeah, well, all these entities. Yeah, throughout the whole time of my work with DMT, I've never been in contact with a negative energy being. It's all loving entities showing me positive stuff. Nothing to suggest that I'm going to a dark realm, or you know, or even that these things exist. The only difference that happened this time is that I combined the DMT with the embittered, with the MAOI, which made all the difference. I'd used LSD and DMT together before, so that was no problem. Mushrooms and DMT, they complement each other really well, and you have the most magical, fulfilling experience. Some of my best journeys have been on a combination of those substances, and it's mind-blowing, you know. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's, you know, after years of doing this, you found that you can trust yourself and you can trust the experience, and
yes, 100%.
So that's good. And you've always you know, and you're not pushing it just to see the white light. Like, you're doing it because you want to learn more about yourself and you want to learn more about these experience, right?
Well, yeah, I was
you're not
doing
like by the white light. I mean, like, I mean, like, not just to be high, show. Like, just like, but
definitely not. Definitely not. 100% not. My reasons for doing these substances originally, was for exploration. A couple of things for personal healing. All the things that you research and that, and says that it heals trauma. I've got a lot of trauma from my childhood, would say. I've also got some physical injuries, but I combined that once I started using it. I was combining that with more exploration, you know, of another world, and you know, so never for fun. And by the way, I always did, most of the time I did this thing by myself, you know, in a closed space or outdoors.
Right, me too. That's always the best, I think, because now, Frank, you won't be getting the influence of others trying to manipulate you.
Energies around you as well can influence your journey.
Right.
Frank, you said I think I remember you saying it helped you with your physical injuries.
Oh,
wasn't that true? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, on the night, I think Sean's going to play a video of the black and white video when it entered me. But actually, that video starts off just after what I'm about to tell you about. Actually, it starts off just before. Just after. What happened was, so on the third night, my friend was filming, and I took the DMT, and nothing happened. And I took more. There was still nothing happened, and then that's when the huge wave of energy came over me, and then my body picked me up and laid me on the ground gently and had me on the ground. I've got a herniated disc in my lower back, and I'm in pain 24/7. I can feel it all the time, and the energy, instead of being surrounded all over my body, it had concentrated into a small piece that was in my lower back, and it was like scanning it. And I'm lying there, and I've got no pain in my back while it's doing this. I've got absolutely no pain, which is impossible for me for the last 20 years since I've had a car accident. And it wasn't until, and this went on for, 20 minutes or so, I'm lying there, and then that's when I tried to get up, and it wouldn't let me up. There was an energy force keeping me down. And that's when I started to panic a bit in my mind. And then that's when the first time it showed its true colors, where it was angry sounding and, you know, and I'm telling it to get out. What are you? And it was just really, really angry. And I eventually was able to stand up, which you'll see in the video clip. And then all the energy focused on my head and spun me around and almost, you know, made me fall over. And that's when I strapped myself into the chair, and it just went crazy for the next couple of hours.
Wow.
Now, Frank, you said there's things that you do that it doesn't like, and it won't allow you to pray.
Yeah, I can no longer meditate. My mind cannot sit still. I think we're all biological computers, and what it's given me, I've always considered myself to be an empath. I feel energies, and what I believe has happened is that it's enhanced my empath abilities, because I'm feeling energies and people's energies and thoughts, but my brain, it feels like a computer that hasn't got enough space. The drive's not big enough. There's information coming in all the time, and you know, all the time. Like in my mind, I cannot keep my mind empty and still. There's just, I can't process it. I actually broke through. I had DMT effects through meditation a couple of times, which is a really hard thing to do. And now I can't keep my mind still. And if I do for that slight second, I'm just getting negative thoughts, you know.
Have you ever tried like a drum or like something to put you in trance? Maybe something that helps.
Yeah, I've seen some shamans that have done drums at certain beats and that per minute and stuff. And
does that help at all?
No,
Frank,
this thing react to it.
What other things do you do that it doesn't like, that it reacts to when you do them? You said there are things that it really gets pissed off when you do certain things.
When you try to get up off the ground, I guess.
No, in my mind, when I tell it things like, you know, you're my slave, you don't control me. I actually give you an example. I got a Scrabble board out once, and I write your name, write your name. Who are you? And it started picking up the pieces, putting them together, and there was just no word, no spelling. And I laughed at it. I said, you can't spell. And the way it shook my arm, moved the energy, got my arm, and just threw all the pieces off the board. You know, so to me, it has feelings. It's conscious. It gets mad when I confront it. Type thing. I can tell. Not mad. When I say mad, I can just tell it doesn't, like being the way I speak to it sometimes.
So humor is a weapon, right? Or not humor, but you can affect it by making fun of it. Like, I think that is telling. For a lot of evil, hates being laughed at.
Yeah, I think and it works both ways. They can do things that I don't like and scare me, and I can do the same to them.
Well, what do you do that scares them?
Like I say, nothing physical and stuff. It's just, the only communication I have with it is when I can think, and then I can tell by the energy in my body, by its reaction. Things that I do physical in my life, we have no other communication, type thing. I can't really notice if it doesn't like that I'm doing something or whatever, but I do believe that my lack of motivation and willpower has got something to do with this thing. Sometimes I plan to do something, but I just can't bring myself to do it for some reason, and that's just not me.
Do you feel it's draining you?
Yeah, I feel like definitely that's possible. Yeah, that it's draining me somehow. I definitely feel that it's feeding off all my emotions, because any emotion, good, bad, or whatever, I feel like it's getting pleasure, or even when I eat, that eating emotion, and it's just I do things that just aren't me, that I never used to do before, and I'm aware of them, and that's the thing that it's given me. It's given me this state of awareness, and that's that. A lot of things I can't repeat to people, because they just, not that I want them to believe me, but they just think I'm crazy, of what I'm thinking. How could someone think, this, and this? But, I just have this awareness about, and it seems to be all about negative things. People I see, people I've known for years, and I see the hypocrisy, and we're all hypocrites in a way. I see the negative in people. And a part of me is, we judge people for judging people because judging people is wrong, and I'm aware of this, and it's just.
Do you think
it splits you off from people? Does it keep you away from friends and family? And
I don't think it's actually the actual being keeps me away. I think it's the effects that it's given me, the symptoms that I'm feeling that I just described, and that it's all part of all this is, yes, definitely, part of the reason why I'm feeling this way, and some of my actions, which I'm not proud of, with some of my friends and people I've known. I confront people who I know that have lied to me, but and when someone lies to you, if you say, "Look, I've got proof," and you show them proof, they'll admit it, right? But if you accuse someone of not being truthful, or that they lied to you with no proof, most of the time they will just continue to lie and try and reason or whatever, But in my mind, I know. So now I don't confront. I used to do this, but now I've stopped. I've disconnected myself, because why confront someone that they're lying when you know that they're going to lie about lying?
Right.
Do you think
that that these all the negative in the other person, without do you think you have this awareness because that entity also has that awareness and it shares it with you because you're in the same body? Because that's how that's what they use as handles on people. They use that negative, self-loathing or whatever as like a hook to wield people with. And if it can see it in another person, maybe you're seeing what it sees, right? Is it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've never looked at it that way, but that's definitely possible. I've always looked at it. It's just one of the symptoms of having this thing inside me. But the way you described it, that's definitely possible. One of the
I think Sean hit it on the head, because I remember working with one schizophrenic where the voice spoke to me, and I said, "Well, tell it this," and the guy said, "I don't have to. It can hear you. It can see you." And I'm like, "Whoa!" So I think Sean hit something on the head. There you're seeing its perceptions and it's seeing yours.
Right. Yeah. Because you're sharing the same.
You're sharing the same consciousness.
Yeah. Right.
One of the
same space where both your consciousness are in it.
But one of the strange things about that point is that if it knows what I know and everything, then I speak fluent French. I was born in France.
Right.
It doesn't understand a word of any other language: German, French, Chinese. It only understands English, which if it's attached to my consciousness, you would think that it would understand French.
Oh, that's interesting.
That plus, your voice is like the one thing that of your body where it's as if your higher consciousness is speaking out, like it's from your mind directly, and it's like since it's your body, your consciousness holds your voice. It's yours. And like when that thing is trying to, we're going to show the video when it's like trying to speak through you, like when it takes your voice, it has your body completely. And I think that's what a lot of ceremonial magic happens, that's part of it, where they want the voice and the body, because then they can truly control, they can put their influence into this world. That's like the vehicle where the portal where the influence comes through into others.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in that clip, if you want to show that clip.
We can do that now.
Yeah, I'm basically, so I'll just describe it if you want, but what's going on. So I'm lying there, I can't get up, and you'll see it starts to growl and whatever, and I eventually get up, and it throws me around a bit, and then that's when I get in the chair, and then
Frank,
it just
narrate us through it. Tell us what's going on as it rolls.
Okay.
Talk us
Can
through
you hear it and see it?
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it.
If you put the volume on, the listeners have a better understanding of it.
This is where you were pinned to the floor, Frank?
Yeah, it's growling. I'm saying, "What are you? Get out of me!" And it's growling through my mind, through my mouth. Obviously, can't speak.
Can you hear it, Jerry?
I can hear something, but it's more like static.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Okay. Well, that's what it is to me too. It's his breathing is like shh, shh, like static.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do hear it. Sorry, guys.
Okay, Frank, talk us through what's happening here.
Yeah, I'm telling it to get out, and right there, I'm saying, yeah, I've got to fight it. I've got to fight it. And I try and get up, and you'll see it flicks me back down the ground. Watch my arms and my head just flick back down, and then I say it's controlling my body. Right here. Watch this. See, bang, the energy's on. Okay, and it's growling, and
so it's pushing you down.
Yeah, it's energy field. It's just I cannot get up. Now, eventually, as you see, I eventually get up and I start talking and describing what's going on, and that's when all the energy lifts to my face and just spins me around and I almost trip over. And I'm 100%. While all this is going on, I'm still me. I'm always 100% in my mind. It's
But the energy is just pushing you or like affecting you.
Yeah, it's moving around. Watch this. Bang, it comes up into my head.
Whoa.
And that's when I thought the safest place for me is to sit in the chair.
Was it pushing you around?
Right then, yeah. Well, all the energy shifted to my head and just swung my body around, And then there's some videos if the viewers want to go on my YouTube channel, watch the following. I've got a couple of clips from me sitting in this chair. That was the night. This is the night that it showed its true colors, and I obviously knew it wasn't a human from the future, and I went into panic mode for the next 6 months, a year or so, I suppose, learning from it, researching online countless of hours and all different belief systems about entities and interdimensional beings, all sorts of things, and trying to work out what this thing is. And then I eventually contacted a shaman, a retreat center I knew in Peru, who watched the videos, and I was told that the shaman said he could get it out of me easily. So, but there was like a 3-month wait, and in that 3-month wait, I was just researching, and also being really let down and feeling really, really alone, because I reached out to the medicine community, the psychedelic community, and it was like nobody wanted to know about any of this. And
of course not.
They all use all these
like
words.
Rock climbers never want to go to the funeral of somebody that fell. They just don't want to see it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just felt so alone and didn't know where to turn to, and so I eventually went to Peru. And then that's when all the supernatural and paranormal stuff that I witnessed and others happened, which really, if this, I'd be the first to admit if this was some sort of mental health issue, schizophrenia or something, or, I would love for it to be that, actually, because I'd know what it is and, I could come to terms with it. But
they don't know what it is, Frank.
Right.
They don't know what it is.
Yeah, I know, but I can't lie to myself. I can't, I know this is not me. I know this is an entity from another realm. It's not my mind playing games on me or whatever. And the magic I've seen from the shamans, like being put in a trance. By the way, the whole time I went to Peru, I did not do any substances, no ayahuasca, no nothing. And I was being put in a trance by the shaman. So
this is the first time that you visited a shaman to help get it out of you, right? That you're talking about right now. Because this all started from a bruja, didn't it?
Well, this is one of the theories. No one knows the truth really, but I have a few theories that Yeah, witchcraft. One of the shamans that I previously seen has put it on me. And I can tell you something
so this kind of thing happens a lot down there.
Yes, it's common knowledge. It's common knowledge.
Right.
The ayahuasca thing is just corrupted big time. There's probably 1 in 100 retreat centers, healing centers that are actually doing the right thing. All the others are doing it for the money and run by foreigners and just not respecting the medicine, not respecting the people. There's people dying, getting killed in the retreats, and then they go and hide the body, and the police find out and they don't close the center out. They just take the body away, and because everyone signed a clause.
Because they're getting taxes too. Like they can, they get benefits from it being open, right?
No. Well, these centers aren't even operating legally, okay? And the police know this. And why don't they close them down? It's because they're scared. They're actually scared of black magic.
Wow.
The police, the government, they know what's going on. There's one place in Quitos. It's the hub of ayahuasca. There's got to be 150 centers. There's only about 17, I think, the last count that were actually registered. All the rest are operating illegally, taking $100, $200 American a day off 15, 20 people every day. And the people are dying in these centers. I must stress that I believe no one's ever died from ayahuasca. They're dying from tobacco purge or anything. But there's one case. I was interviewed by a TV crew that did a story on this about a New Zealand boy who died from the tobacco purge, and they tried to cover it up, and the police.
So he didn't get enough air. It was just too much tobacco in his face. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Because they use tobacco. They'll blow tobacco on the person, and they'll sing the Ichiro or whatever.
Yeah, it's okay. That's mapacho. They use that tobacco to ward off evil spirits. But there's actually tobacco ceremonies where they make it into a concoction, and it's actually stronger than ayahuasca. Okay, it's toxic to the body.
Nicotine will kill you.
Right. Yeah. It's super strong.
Why do they give it to people?
You soak a cigar overnight in water, and you drink that, it'll kill you.
Wow.
Yeah. At these ayahuasca centers, when someone's having problems opening up to the medicine, so say it doesn't work or whatever, then they will give them a tobacco purge to open them up. Okay, a tobacco purge to open them up.
So
and there's actually
nicotine receptors. Is that what you think? They're trying to hit those receptors to clean off the. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
Well, they use nicotine to kill bugs.
Yeah, right.
It's in bug spray.
Yeah. There's also these little satchels, and they're illegal everywhere except in Sweden, I think. These little satchels, they're called. It starts with an S. I can't remember, some weird name, and you put them under your tongue and you suck on it, and it gets you off your face. And this is really big in Europe.
Like uppers, downers, trippy. How does
I've never taken the tobacco purge or anything, but they.
Oh no, I mean the little thing that they put under their tongue. What does it do?
It's just a little satchel with tobacco. It comes in a tin, like a cigarette tin.
Oh, it's tobacco. So how does it get you high, like uppers, like their heart races and they.
Ayahuasca?
Oh no, I mean like the tobacco thing.
Right. It doesn't matter, it gets you. No, it gets you high like ayahuasca, in a way like
really?
DMT.
Trippy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, trippy. It's like they have full ceremonies of this. There's retreats and that don't do ayahuasca but do tobacco. People pay to go and get tranced out and go to other nations.
Oh my God! I can't believe that's even possible.
And in Europe, they're using this.
I've never heard of that.
In Europe, the druggies are using this, importing it from Sweden because it's or Switzerland or Sweden, I think. It's legal. They import it, the kids, and they're going around. There's videos of this on YouTube, and they put it under their tongue, and people are ODing and passing out, and just really, really bad.
Jeez.
And this is the same as what they give people in Peru, except it's a liquid concoction. They get them to drink it, so they purge it out, just like ayahuasca.
So if you're ever in Peru, don't take the tobacco purge, right? That's a good piece of advice that the listeners can take with them, right? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Okay, because it's poison. It doesn't really. All it does is make you sick and makes you puke and whatever, and Because
well,
ayahuasca makes you puke, right? Like
well, it's poison too. It's toxic to the body. It's got to come out. There's not much difference, but I believe the tobacco is a lot more of a risk.
Well, DMT
obviously.
itself isn't toxic because it's
No,
endogenous.
it's natural to the
right?
body. Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
Right. But the brew of ayahuasca is
okay. The brew of ayahuasca, I've had a lot of experience because I've been to at least no less than 10 retreat centers, and they all cater. Like I say, not everyone's doing the right thing. Normally, the brew of ayahuasca is just traditionally chacruna and ayahuasca vine. But what they do, a lot of centers put toei in it, datura, because it adds for the light show, the visions for the tourists.
Wow.
Okay, that's dangerous.
And that,
datura. Okay, this is what they do. This is the secrets of ayahuasca centers that you will not hear in the brochure. Yeah, exactly.
That's like a deadly nightshade, like datura, isn't it? Like
it's bad. It's not good. People go blind from it.
So Frank, does this entity ever interfere with your conscious life? Do you end up saying things you don't mean to say, or doing things you don't mean to do?
Yeah, I think I do. If I don't, now I've learned to sort of take a pause before I answer someone or react to something, because I know that my reaction could be not mine, because I've done it before. I've done things. Why did I react like that? No, I should have said that. And before all this happened to me, I wouldn't have. I would have done the right thing and said the right thing. And
do you think it's because it's like a base part of your brain, like your fight or flight type? It takes over reactions and your conscious mind doesn't get it. Sure. So like it's working on your base.
It works to drive people away.
Sorry,
what's that?
More specifically, sorry, I think more specifically it's attached to my subconscious mind. And we all know that the subconscious mind is much more powerful than the conscious mind.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where it's originating from. And that's why it's, it's just implanting into my conscious mind before I can translate it.
Right. Yeah.
Do you ever catch it trying to control your behavior?
Don't know about catching it, but I obviously believe that it tries to, or but I'm so aware of it that I'm so aware that I can I can sort of stop it or prevent it from happening. It's I've been living with this for 3 years, and I've come a long way, especially the last 12 months, in understanding this thing and the way it works and the way it's affecting me in my life.
So does it take energy for you to keep an eye on this thing and to kind of keep it compartmentalized? I
think so. Subconsciously, for sure, and consciously, And
what happens what happens if you just move out of the way and say, okay, I'm not going to block you anymore?
Do you ever do that? Have you ever done that? Just move out of the way?
Oh yeah. Like 12 months ago, I said I put a stop to this, and I was going away without acknowledging it or without feeling it. As the time's gone on, the energy surrounding my whole body has gotten weaker. So I believe that it's adapting to its environment, so it's less notable for me in my everyday life, feeling this energy, and especially if I keep my mind busy all the time. A bit of a mental block, heaps to say.
Can you describe a little bit more about the Bruja situation? Like, what did they do something different? Like you said that you've done like many ceremonies and you've done many trips down to South America, and this one time is different. Can you explain anything that you could say maybe that would highlight or illustrate that?
That one time, the time that I went to Peru the last time to see the shaman, or?
Well, the time that you were infected with this or these things that that are in you now, was it different at all? I mean, was there black magic? Could you tell it was black magic that they were hexing you? Did it seem that way? Maybe in recalling it later, does it make sense?
No, the place that I went to wasn't practicing black magic. I've just I know that it's a fact in the area,
Right.
and the ayahuasca scene. But the actual shaman that I went and saw, definitely not black magic. Definitely a super powerful shaman. By the way this thing reacted to it.
Oh, you're talking about the healing. I'm talking about like when you got infected the first time.
Oh, okay.
Did that time seem different? Did it like?
Oh,
did it seem like they were doing black magic on you that time?
Oh, sorry. You mean just a bit lost.
Maybe it's attacking your memory because right now.
It's like you mean when I spoke about going to Ecuador, where I may have got this from the Bruja?
Where you got it from? Did it seem different than the other times that you?
Where I got it from. See, I have a problem with ayahuasca. I've drunk it maybe over 50 times, maybe 100. I don't know. I've lost count, but it's only ever worked for me once or twice. Okay, I'm immune to it. Okay, and I've drunk 5 cups. Okay, I've drunk 5 MEMO combined with ayahuasca as well, and nothing happens. And retreat centers know me well. And so when I went to this place in Ecuador, there was just so much wrong with the center, and I could tell that it was one of these places that was just a money-taking hub. They're doing a lot of things that were not ethical in ayahuasca ceremonies, and the reports I was getting from the other people there and what they were seeing in the ceremony, nothing short of demonic. Nothing short of. I'm talking about people telling me that like there's a fire pit in the middle of the ceremony. Okay, and people are telling me they're seeing night entities with like knights, shining armor and stuff like this, with a demonic feeling. Not just one person, like 3 people telling me the same thing,
having the same shared experience. 3 different heads seeing the same hallucination. Wow. And it's like fire depths of hell. Like they're looking. Wow.
Yes. And the shamans there were not shamans; they were healers and entertainers or musicians. Okay, they're not real healers. Real shamans, I would say there's not many. I believe through my research, the only real shamans are in Mongolia. But this place I went to, ayahuasca center, if they take more than 9 or 12 people, you're not going to get the right care from them. And this place was taking 30 people all the time. And when you group 30 people, even 9 people, you have all these energies vibrating different levels of consciousness, taking these substances, and they're going to share energies. And people are going to pick up negative energies from other people in these places, and especially seeing, they're not being protected properly.
Everybody has their own trauma that they're bringing to the table, and their trauma is expressing out in this.
And this is why you don't have 30 people, which every bed, like basically you're lying on your space and you can you can feel the other people's shoulders from side to side. So here I am feeling nothing. I've drunk 2 cups and I've got 2 newcomers on both sides of me, and they're throwing their hands around me. I'm getting slapped all night on the face. I just get up and go back to my bed, because it's just crazy. People going. I fall asleep.
So you didn't see any of these demonic things? I'm sorry. You didn't see anything negative, like you didn't have the experience.
No, as usual.
You left, and it was like, oh, everything's fine. So they just slipped in on, like, they might have, if this was the reason you got them, or it slipped in without you noticing. Really, you're watching the other people flail around, and you're like, oh, this is just a normal day. I guess I'm gonna. Go walk outside and look at the stars, and then go back, sit down, and go to sleep, like whatever.
Yeah. So my problem with ayahuasca is, it was quite disheartening for me to spend all this money the first few times going to Peru and looking for results, and just nothing. What's going on? I can't get any answers, and people are coming up with all these different theories as to why it's not working. But I believe, as I was told, that it works with me in a different way, because every time I would come back from Peru, I would come back and people would say to me, "You've changed. There's something different about you." And I could see by my mind, my compassion, my understanding, my voice, my wants and wills were all different. So I had changed. Ayahuasca had changed me, but it didn't give me the effects, the breakthrough and all that, the visionary and that. Only once. And I'd like to tell you this story because I think it's important.
Okay.
I went to my first time to Peru. I went to an ayahuasca retreat. So many things that happened. One of the more popular ones, charging a couple of $250 a day. When I originally researched this center, I noticed that the owner used to be a chemist in the pharmaceuticals. Used to be a chemist. Okay,
that was telling right there. That's something.
Okay, sure. So I get to Peru a couple of days early. I'm walking around town. I come across a local who had been into Australia, an older gentleman, Freddie, and he takes me around, shows me around a bit, and we find a place to play a game of pool. We play pool, and then we start talking about why I'm here. And I say, I'm doing ayahuasca. And he says, where are you going? And I tell him where I'm going. And he says, have you paid? And I said, I paid half before and paying the other half in cash. And he told me this story about the place, and that he knows the owners, and it had just been sold. And the new owners, or the old owners, were helping, stayed on to help the new owners, the transition. But the old owners, they left because when they found out what the new guy was doing, he was putting LSD and other chemicals into the ayahuasca mix. That they left. So the old owners left and didn't want any part of it. And I thought maybe he's trying to not get me to go to this place, to suggest me to go to another place where he gets kickbacks. Because that's, it happens a lot. Okay, people out there that want to survive, and the place is full of tourists with, pocket full of $100 American notes. So I thought maybe he's trying to scam me, but I've got to go and see for myself. So when I got there, everything about the place, I felt negative. I felt wrong. Okay, just as soon as I got there, it was like you pull up and it's like a prison camp. There's an armed guard there with a rifle at the gate.
This is the place that you were supposed to go, or this is where the guy told you to go? Where you're supposed to go?
No, this is the place to go that I paid $250 a day for 2 weeks. Okay, so I went there anyway. I'll get to where I want to say.
Why did they have an armed guard? Why did they need an armed guard?
Okay. Because they're like 50 kilometers outside of town, a couple of kilometers out in the jungle, I suppose, and the locals around the area do not like him because obviously he's making a fortune. He's not sharing with the community around, which a lot of the ayahuasca centers do. They share with the community because they're making so much. But he's paranoid. He's obviously not doing the right thing, and he's worried about the natives coming in and stealing or doing whatever. So there was, even when you get up in the middle of the night and there's an armed guard, throwing a touch on you, like, what are you doing? So I get there on my first night, my first ceremony. Nothing happens. I stay straight. I get up. I drink another cup. And there was actually a few of us that drank another cup because they said if you want more, you can have more. There was a guy there who was a totally never taken any drugs in his life. He was a professional sportsman, represented his country. He was a vegan, and he was there doing ayahuasca. And they said, once you've had one cup, if you want more, you can go and do another one. In ayahuasca, ayahuasca centers, they do not give you, it's unethical for them to give you a second cup if you have not purged the first one. Okay. This guy had not purged the first one, who got up for a second one, and he drank a second one. I drank the second one. Nothing happened. I went to sleep. I heard all this commotion. I woke up. This guy was being held down by the shaman. He was going crazy. He was out of his head. And then I heard something else. Then there was a lady there who was there to get 3 evil spirits out of her. which I thought she was crazy and schizophrenia, whatever at the time. And
Right.
yeah, and because I was a believer but a non-believer, and they were holding her down. She was going crazy, like just like I was, basically, very similar to like I was doing.
Was
And
there LSD in your mix? I mean, not that
no,
LSD is bad, but were there other research chemicals in there or whatever? Do you know?
No, I believe, it was the ayahuasca that he gave everyone at the time, right? But the thing was that, so then on my second ceremony, ayahuasca worked. I saw Mother Ayahuasca. I had the most magical time. I had a Kundalini experience. I was blown away. This is what I came for. It was probably the best night of my life. I got so much work done.
Starting now, I guess. You were describing the gentleman that was being held down. He drank 2 cups, and
so he had a double dose, and the next day he was like a mental patient. He could not communicate. We had to feed him. We had to bathe him. He was just there, like staring into the sky. Later the next day, the owner of the retreat said, "Look, if he's not better tomorrow, we have to call the police to come take him to the hospital because we can't care for him. It's just no way we can care for him." And so that night.
So you think he had like a psychotic break, like he was just staring into nothingness? And
he described later when he came to. He described what he was seeing. He was conscious of all of us, all around him, talking to him. He could understand everything, but he was just in a place that was just all dark, and he said he felt like hell. He just didn't know if he was ever going to get out. Like he could hear us and everything. But he was just not responding, and everything was dark.
Kind of like, have you seen a movie called Get Out? There's this. I forget the name of the guy who does he does some really good films nowadays. But Get Out. There's people that invade the consciousness of another person's body, and when the original consciousness goes away, he's drawn down into a dark place where he's like drowning into this blackness, and then can kind of see through a little dot what is happening, but like has no control over his body anymore. And I guess they called it a dark place. It's like it made me think of this. Like, you should see this movie.
Yeah, sounds the same. It was really, the way he described it was quite amazing. And
Jordan Peele made the movie. Jordan Peele. Okay.
Yeah. So that night was the night for our second ceremony, and that, as I was describing my ayahuasca experience,
right? You broke through and saw.
I broke through. I saw Mother Ayahuasca, and I started to get work done on things that I went there for, about my family, But every time I kept getting distracted. Turning to this guy Otis, who was in this comatose state, and Mother Ayahuasca was there. And I remember clearly saying to Otis, like talking to him, saying, come back. We need you, come back. And then this would happen. And then my focus, and then I'd go back and start concentrating on what I went there for, trying to heal some traumas. But 3 or 4 times my attention just kept getting drawn back to this poor guy. And this happened 3 or 4 times. And then at one stage, I remember thinking, I'm not getting drawn back to him. I was concentration and everything. And at that, something in my mind said, he's going to be all right. He's all right. And then after that ceremony, I was outside talking to someone else, sharing our experiences. And just after I told the story to this person, Otis comes walking out of the bedroom. Hey guys, what's happening? What's up? And we just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. For me, it was very real. It was crazy. And that was that was the second time I drank ayahuasca. The first time it worked, I was amazed. On this same night, I had another person I had another person come to me and tell me all bad things. That Jim, the owner, he saw him doing bad things, abusive things, and was
like
this guy was in a
hitting people or sexually touching people,
sexually touching him and everything, and you know, this guy came to me with this in the middle of the night. I was thinking, oh my God, I don't want to hear this.
Right?
What's going on? Oh, please stop, you know. And then on the next ceremony, I thought, wow, this is great, you know. I drank this time.
Well, what was that guy doing, Frank? Frank, what was the owner doing?
Right.
I believe he was drawing. I believe he's drawing energy from people, trying to steal their power or something. He's definitely not.
Doing
I think he's a mad. Honestly, I believe he's a mad scientist doing experiments on people out in the jungle. That's what I think he's doing. That's what I think he is.
Like
he's a crazy scientist.
What did he do to make you think that?
Well, all these stories, everything that happened, and then on the third night, next night.
What stories?
Yeah, he drugged me up. On this night, I was on some sort of drugs. I've taken plenty of drugs before in my life, okay, but this one I couldn't pick, and I knew it wasn't ayahuasca. I knew it wasn't LSD. It was some sort of psychotic drug, because I was sitting there all night. I couldn't string my thoughts. I couldn't string 3 or 4 words in a row. I couldn't think more than 3. The capacity was blocked. You know, I was just sitting there staring at him the whole night thinking, what's he done to me? How is he giving this? How is he giving me something different to everyone else when we've all drunk out of the same cup? How is this possible? Because I 100%, 1,000%, he'd give me some concoction. Was not ayahuasca, was not LSD, and was not nothing. I was.
Do you think there was? Do you think it did? Was it neuroleptic, or was it like a muscle relaxant, or was it GHB type of thing?
Yes, something like that. GHB.
But you said that everybody,
like, so you were like, you felt like your body couldn't move and you couldn't. Like,
but you said everybody drank out of the same cup, right, Frank?
But
they can dose they can dose like your cup as they're giving it to you. They can, you know, like if somebody at the bar does to, like, for date rape or whatever.
Yeah, or even we could be. See, I was there for hours thinking, well, how is he doing this? How is he doing this? And what I noticed is that every time someone came to drink from the cup, they would wipe the cup clean. Okay. Now we know that LSD, you can pick it up on you by touching it, right?
Right.
Yeah, and other chemicals as well. Anyway, he came to me after the ceremony and he said, you know, as he does to everyone, straight after the ceremony, he said, how was it? And I was trying to explain myself and I couldn't string 3 words in it together. And he just said, it's all right, we'll speak tomorrow. And then the next day, what I noticed, time after a ceremony, we would sit there the next day and he would take notes, ask us questions, how long until it came on, you know, all these questions, and he would take notes.
Wow.
And I know stuff like that. And he wasn't taking notes, you know. And then now I'm obviously believing the stories I've heard from this guy I met before. So I was in a panic.
What did he tell you? What did that guy tell you?
About what happened to me.
No, you said you were here. You heard stories from other people. What
right,
did they say?
Well, that he was putting stuff into the ayahuasca mix. You know, LSD. I was told LSD specifically, but he's a chemist and all this. Anyway, so, you know, everything about the place was wrong. This guy who was a vegan, Otis, who had that bad trauma, you know, the food was all processed food, supermarket orange juice full of sugar.
Wow.
You know,
what if they were diabetics? Like, you know.
It's a cheap thing. He would give us San Pedro, because we had a San Pedro ceremony. In the package would be the powdered stuff that you buy from the shop, not the fresh cactus that's cooked up like most people do, you know.
Wow.
Everything about the place was negative. You know, I paid for 12 days. me and the other guy who had sexual advancements in his visions from this guy Jim, from the owner, he left. We left. I actually stole a kitchen. I was, so I had to. I knew he knew I was the guy who made a big commission about about stuff not being right, and so I picked the butter knife from the kitchen because I was really paranoid. There's 50 to go to the 12 kilometers to the highway, 50 kilometers back to town.
A butter knife. Butter knife.
He could see me as a threat to his business. He's got $1 million business, and
sure.
And the thing is,
you never know. He could hire thugs to come get you, like whatever.
There was so much that went on in the 3 days that I was there, in the 3 ceremonies. I wrote on Facebook. There's a shaman page where you can be honest about your visits to retreat centers to help people. And so I wrote up a thing about everything that happened in this place. And on Facebook,
did other people have that same experience? They have similar experiences?
No, not that I know of on those nights, because I only stayed for those ceremonies. Not that I know of, but I wrote this review up online with a page with maybe 100,000 followers, and I have a fake. And when I wrote this thing up, the owner of the retreat center replied. He replied saying, "This isn't because this person, I've just looked in our history, came to our retreat." Now, I described everything in detail, okay, and he's acting like this never happened. Like, basically, for him to deny it, it was like this thing happened every day. He doesn't know which one it is because it happens every day.
Right.
If that was because he was lying, because he wasn't accusing me of lying, but he couldn't remember who it was, type thing. So I replied, "What? Does this thing happen every day? Often at your place, they're too outrageous for not to remember, unless it happens all the time." But he knew exactly who
was it. And was it just the LSD kind of thing, or were other things going on?
It was other things.
You felt like a GHB, like a loss of muscle.
Yeah, my mind was just when you can't
blocks your head, right?
Yeah, it blocks your head. You can't string a sentence. You can't string two sentences together. Your mind just shuts off.
Do you think maybe scopolamine? Do you know about that? Scopolamine takes your will away. In Colombia, they have it, and they turn it into dust, and they blow it in the face of people, and they can't remember for like a couple hours. They don't even know what they're doing. It's like totally blacked out, and they'll like walk with the victim to the victim's, house, and the victim will give them all their goods. Like, here you go. There's all my stuff. Like, because they don't have their will anymore. It's the CIA was using that in their experiments, the MK Ultra stuff. And I just wanted to say that I think that him making notes of people's, that's just like Burning Man. It's government. Like that's exactly like an extension of MK Ultra today. They can't do it in America, so they're doing it down there where there's no laws, no rules, and and that's like the same thing with Burning Man. Like they go around with clipboards and they give everybody research chemicals, and like it's a big study on government land, even like. But and it's like I think that is still continuing, and that there are places where that. Jim Jones was CIA. He was working for them. They gave him the drugs. Like they gave him they gave him the land, and those people willingly, well, not all of them. Most of them got shot, but anyway.
Well, 100%. I believe that you're very close, similar to what you're saying. That's what he was doing. He had a native wife. They're driving the brand new. He's driving the brand new 4-wheel drive. This is, you just don't do this in Peru. It's a third world country, pretty much.
Right. Do you think the naked wife was like a Stepford wife? Does she have her own consciousness, or is she a slave too?
Yes, I got very negative energy feelings off her while I was there, and I felt like, you know, maybe he's just married her or whatever to stay in the country, or for the convenience, or for the, you know, to buy the center, or for some reason, you know. But it was all about money. It was all about money, and that's still open today. It's probably still in the top first page of, you know, your Google ayahuasca retreats, and you know they're booked out all year round, and people just don't see it, you know.
Yeah.
The new people who haven't done substances before, they don't see it. But I caught up with the rest of the group after the retreat. I was in a cafe and they all came in, and I explained what happened, why I left and everything, and they didn't believe me. They had the best time of their lives. They thought I was crazy. Me and the other person was crazy. They
For them, it was like a roller coaster, and they're like, I just went to the amusement park. Yeah,
exactly. And the poor girl that had 3 entities inside her, I don't know what happened to her. I don't know, you know, whether she was able to expel them or whatever. But
so
this is why
you were told by another shaman, of like a heart-based shaman that didn't charge you money, tried to help remove this thing from you, and that was your first time. Do you think maybe that was the time it entered you, and it never really expressed itself until you got to the Harmaline and it finally got control? Because maybe that guy did it to you. Maybe that was part of the ritual.
Anything's possible. I've considered, you know, all possibilities, but to be honest, I do sort of, I believe it all started with that night with the Harmaline. I really do. It's quite possible it was in me from the start. Who knows? And it's been dormant, and doing the Harmaline released it somehow. Anything's possible. I could have been born with this, for all I know. You know, and it's been dormant inside me all my life. You know, because when I was younger, I was doing things I'm not proud of today. I really don't know. No one knows. You know, we're only speculating here. We're only speculating, and we're going off a lot of belief systems and what, you know, and things in books and in history, which we know is false. You know, who knows what to believe?
What happened when that shaman tried to get rid of it? How did it react?
Yeah, we have a we have a video of. Is that
if you want to play that clip, it's only short.
1 minute and four. It's like a minute. Okay.
So this is the third. This is the time I started filming, but I'd actually had 2 sessions with the shaman before, which were a lot more crazier. But this is the 3rd night, and again, I'm on no substances. He's just doing a Buddhist mantra. This is Rue, one of the helpers there, who's just the best person. He's one of the best facilitators. He's the owner's right-hand man. I have the shaman. The whistling noise you can hear is the shaman by my feet.
Okay, explain what you're feeling as this is going on. What is going on with you?
Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm breathing heavily. I've been breathing heavily for the past 30 seconds, releasing natural DMT from my lungs. And as I'm doing that, the energy is picking up. This is what's moving my body around, my arms. So the energy is picking up. And
so
now
you're not moving your own body right now.
Wow.
No, it's the energy. I'm not moving nothing. I'm not moving anything. It's the energy.
You're just in there for the ride.
Yep. You can hear it growling if you've got the volume. And this is pretty magical. Like, I can't see him behind me, but look how it reacts to, brings me down.
Huh. Because he blew air on your head or something, or he's sucking it out of your...
I know there's another video clip just after this where the shaman, when he blows smoke over me, it reacts. It reacts just to the smoke. You know, but my arm's moving here and everything. That's not me. It's the energy.
So it doesn't like this, or how is it reacting to this?
Well, it's trying to run away. It's moving through my body, trying to escape. You know,
is that why you're lunging up and moving?
Yeah.
So it's trying to get you to escape.
Do you think that when
you notice when I did levitate there with my arms sort of back up behind my head. That's impossible for me to do. I can't do that. I've got a herniated disc in my back. I couldn't do that on a good day. So,
do you
it's
think
the end.
that relates to, we see there's, they expressed it in The Exorcist, where the young girl is bent over backwards. Like she runs down the stairs, bent over backward. Oh, he dropped out. He dropped out. There's anyway. There's also the killer, the cannibal killer guy who was doing ceremonial magic, black magic.
Sorry, got cut off. Sorry.
It's fine. I was talking about the bending over backwards, the arching like that. There's a piece of art from a long time talking about, like, it happens with schizophrenics, actually. I think it where they lock up and their back they bend backwards, and then Jeffrey Dahmer would set his dead body bent like that, and then in The Exorcist, the little girl is bent over backwards like that, running down the stairs, and it relates to demon possession. Do you think that maybe that was happening? It's really weird. I recognize that.
Yeah, I believe there's a difference between possession and attachment. Because obviously, if I was possessed the way we think possession, I wouldn't be sitting here being.
Well, maybe I used the wrong word. I'm sorry, but I mean, do you think that movement is related to what's? I mean, it's doing that because that's how it likes to express in a body. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's not human, and then when it gets in a body, it tries to do what its body normally does. Maybe it's some kind of weird alien that, or I don't know, reptile.
Yeah, I think all the reactions from my body, their back and everything, I think it's because obviously it doesn't like what's being done to it and it wants to get away. So it's giving me as much physical pain and whatever it's doing what it can to get away from it, because obviously controlling my body's not going to go anywhere, but it can control my body movements and that. So as we know, through me abusing it and whatever, telling it that it's my slave and that I know it has feelings or some sort of consciousness or whatever, it's trying to escape. It's trying to, it's mad or whatever. So that's the only reaction, the only power that it has.
Frank,
the only power that it has is over my body. It can't move objects across the room and, type thing or.
Frank, when it was doing that, and you were going backward. Could you take control of your own body if you wanted to, or was it in control?
Good question.
No, there's too much. Its energy was too strong. Its energy gets stronger whenever I alter my consciousness with any subject, any substance. Today, the energy gets stronger. So because I released some DMT. Because I released some DMT from my lungs, the energy had lifted up. I'm in control.
It was in control. Okay. Do you have the clip of when the medicine man was blowing smoke on your head?
I can get that here. 1 second.
No, I never filmed it, but actually you've got the clip there, Sean, with the guy. When he's sucking it out of my head.
Right.
Yeah, I'll get that. I'll get the third clip.
So how was it reacting when he was doing that?
Yeah, so all the energy I'm feeling around my body, when he starts sucking on my head, I feel the energy leaving my body or being concentrated up here in my skull where he's sucking. As soon as he starts sucking, that energy is I can feel it all concentrated up in my head. So to me, the sucking is working. And then I seem to feel like he did get one out, or get it out, because I felt it leaving when he's, and then when he's putting it out, I sort of felt okay, but it's still there. It could be because there's more of them, or because they believe.
How many did he say?
7 originally. Because they also believe there's a gateway open in my pineal because I've done, and just as easily as he can get them to come back in, so who knows what I mean. You know, I do believe that I felt a couple of times being put in a trance by him and seeing these things of light leaving, and the way I was feeling, like something had left me, you know, drained of energy. I'm on no substances. I haven't really DMT from my lungs. They're in a full trance, you know. This, what we're watching now is it's not the first time that I saw him, but it's
is this, I thought it said, is the one where he's sucking out the entity. Is this the one that you described?
Well, this is where, what's this now? How is this possible? I got something on my head makes me throw up, you know.
What is he drinking there? What is this stuff he's drinking?
It's cheap American cologne that the shaman's taken up as a tool against spirit. Yeah, it's full of it's basically alcohol with different flowers as a fragrance.
And what are you feeling when he's doing this? What is going on with you while he's doing
I can feel the energy getting pulled up into my head that's surrounding my body and up into my mouth and my skull. I can feel it all there, and it's racing around my head trying to get away from it, you know. And so here I go. It makes me feel one time. Yeah, it'll happen again, you know. All this from a guy sucking in my head. Like, come on. You know?
Wow. Do you think something came out when you threw up? Did something come out?
Well, it felt like something had left me. I felt lighter as well, you know.
But it came back in later.
And just to show that it's no fluke, he'll do it again, you know. Like, come on. It's
wow. For the people that are listening, he's the dude is putting his lips on the crown of Frank's head, and it's pulling something up out of him, and it's making him puke.
I'm on no drugs, by the way. I'm on no substances. I'm on nothing. I haven't released DMT from my lungs. I'm on nothing.
Did you feel sick?
Oh, yeah, obviously, you know, yeah. Yeah.
Did you start feeling sick once he started doing that to your head, or were you already sick before you went to see him and like, oh, I feel sick?
No. It all spontaneous. Just like the first time he diagnosed me, I just sat there. And this was when I use any substance, this energy gets really strong. And I sat there, and this was the first time that I'd actually had no substance, and the energy picked up. All because he just started blowing smoke and chanting around me. And I mean, like really growling, like really to the point where I crushed one of my teeth because my jaw was in lockjaw. It was locking my jaw going that hard. I crushed one of the back top tooth, which when I had to go and get removed from the doctor, from the dentist, and as soon as he put the anesthetic to numb it before he pulled it out, it made the energy lift, or it gave it power. That little bit of anesthetic gave it power. My legs started lifting off the chair. I had to get my arms and push them down, and the doctor going, "What's wrong?" I said, "Oh, nothing. I've just got a lot of energy, you know."
So you couldn't control those movements.
I couldn't control it just from a little bit of anesthetic. And this is my biggest fear in life, Kay, is that if I ever in an accident or need surgery and they have to put me under, what's going to happen? This thing's going to go crazy while I'm under, and then they're going to pump me full of drugs and put me in a straitjacket.
Wow.
So it's going to make this thing go under. If they make my consciousness go under and this thing decides to come out, they're not going to sedate.
Yeah.
This is my biggest fear.
That's like that gal was telling me that, you know, she picked up the entity while she was in surgery, and they gave her the anesthetic. The thing entered then and didn't leave.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I believe that it's an energy being, and where it comes from. You know, we're vibrating. We're living this reality and this for our level of vibration that we're in. When we take psychedelics or drugs and we alter vibration and our level of consciousness, there are many other realms where these entities exist. And, you know, they come in through changes of consciousness. This is how I got it, through changing my consciousness. This is how many people get them, whatever drugs they're on, whatever trauma or whatever. Meditation, even yoga, it's claimed that these things can enter people through yoga.
Well, if you know anything about Aleister Crowley, who is black magician, well, he does black magic, whatever. He started doing yoga. Like, he went to the East, and he was, yoga. If you don't understand yoga and Buddhism, then you won't understand Thelema, his religion that he created, whatever. Not really religion, but his philosophy. It's interesting. Like, I think about ceremonial magic, because that's what the Brujas are doing. That's what it's like it's an indigenous, but it's still ceremonial magic where dealing with non-corporeal entities, and like you were afflicted, they can affect it somehow even without drugs. Like, this is extremely interesting, and they have this indigenous magic, and the Western magicians are doing other things, and the people that are running the big pharma, a lot of them are black magic magicians, Luciferian, part of the the higher orders of power. It's just interesting how it all is relates, I think, and our human experience, we have to be aware of all these things.
Yeah, Frank, what do you think this thing would do if they did give you an anesthetic, and what makes you think that?
I'm not sure. I believe what would happen.
You already said it was a negative. You said it was a negative entity already. So and it takes energy for you to keep it under control.
Yeah, I don't know how it would react if because I think it's quite content the way it is. Because I think that if it could really torment me, I think it could if it wanted to. But I think if it did that, like it originally did, it would lead me to start taking action again to try and get rid of it, which obviously it doesn't like. Like last time I took action to go see shamans and other experts, and it doesn't like that. So maybe it's left me alone to a certain extent because it doesn't want me to try and get it out. And it's, and as I said, the past 12 months I've just trying to just forget about it and carry on with my life. Because, the big difference with me is that
you said it was tormenting you for a while. How long did it do that, and how long did that last? And what did it do?
Yeah, tormenting me just by actually what had happened. And I was being tormented. Probably a lot was my own self-doing as well, but I was being tormented because of what happened. I consider I had PTSD because it's obviously a stressful thing that an event that happened, and torment me. Just the symptoms. Just being aware of all the symptoms were tormenting for me. I've got these voices. I've got these thoughts in my head that aren't mine.
Was it because it lost you lost ability to control your body? Does it take control of your body when you unsuspectingly?
No, it hasn't got the power. That's the thing. Unless I give it the power by altering my consciousness. Unless
the drug goes in, so it's connected to the drug somehow. But
in saying that, I've done experiments with DMT and other substances since, looking for answers, and it hasn't taken advantage. It hasn't, to be honest, it hasn't gotten mad like in these videos ever since then. Ever since then, it's sort of, I've done substances, it's there, the energy picks up, but unless I relax my whole mind and body and it expresses itself, it's just the energy's stronger, the communication's there, but what can it do to hurt me? You can't really do anything.
So you have to keep a constant vigil on it to not let it come out.
Yeah, I think he's trying to. I think we want to get at, like, for the other listener, maybe somebody else is afflicted, and you seem to got a handle on it, and we want to hear how that can be done.
I think the best way, like I did, I used to have certain beliefs, and with my experiences with this thing, I've lost those beliefs. When we have a belief, I think we're too focused on those circumstances around those. And I think we have to be open to experience and that our beliefs may not be right. Like I'm getting a lot of emails, people from religious people, repeating religious things to me and how to get rid of it and their opinion, which I thank and I respect. I respect everyone's opinion. But with my experience, it doesn't line up with certain religious things. And I've tried.
I remember
calling on Archangel Michael. I've tried calling on Archangel Michael. Just the shamans told me. I've tried all these. I've tried many different belief systems, and with what's happening to me isn't working. But for someone who's having problems like this, I would just say, just forget any beliefs you have about these things, and
Frank,
just
what happened when you called on Archangel Michael and some of these other angels? What did it get angry? Did it not like that? What happened?
It was at the time where, like you saw in the video, where I'm lying down or sort of levitating with the shaman. That's when I was doing it in my mind, and so whether it made any difference or not to its reaction and trying to get out of my body or trying to get away from the shaman, I don't know. But pretty much the whole time I'm, Archangel Michael, help me, and even my own little, not demons, but demons, my own little beliefs, I call on my own sort of people that I, believed in that could help me.
I remember you saying it wouldn't allow you to pray. What happens when you attempt to pray?
Praying, I don't know about praying. If I said that, I do know about the meditation, but praying
is a meditation too. Could you explain it doesn't allow you to meditate? I mean, you said that before, I guess, that you can't focus, you can't keep it.
Because when we meditate, you have to try and empty your mind and stay focused. I can't. I can't.
Right. So that's an affliction right there. I mean, that's pretty bad.
So for you, you're constant.
A million miles an hour.
You're constantly having to exert energy to keep this thing under control.
Yeah. And I feel like it's feeding off my energy. What else does it feed off? Why is it here?
It's
energy. It's feeding off my emotions, my energy.
Right.
Like, it has different laws of karma. It doesn't care about humans or anything. Right. The only thing that is like where I'm a bit baffled and whatever is that with a lot of the schizophrenias that you work with and that, it's telling them to hurt themselves and to kill themselves and hurt other people. Sure, this thing tells me to hurt other people, but it's the opposite about myself. It doesn't tell me to inflict harm to myself. It doesn't, and I believe it's quite clear by the way it sort of helps my body that it needs my body and my consciousness to stay here as long as possible.
Right. It's a symbiotic, So if you killed yourself, it would lose its seat in your body that it has right now. It wants to live a long life in this time space while it's hanging out inside of you.
Yeah, my concern as well is what happens when I die. Do I go to its dimension? Does it come with me to wherever I go? If reincarnation is true, does it stay with me? I'm an even worse person, or I'm one of these crazy people from the start.
Well, you didn't consent to it. You didn't invite it in. I think it.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Explain that.
I sort of skipped that part. So for the first week, I thought it was the first few weeks, I thought it was a human from the future. I wanted to make contact. I was inviting it in.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, Frank, what happens if you get upset at somebody? Somebody really pisses you off. How does this thing react?
I get no reaction from it really, but with me, to be honest, you're about to hear an answer that not many people will tell you. Through my work with the medicine and how it's made me a more understanding and compassionate person, and it's actually happened where someone's got really mad or whatever at me, I don't fight fear with fear or anger with anger. I challenge everything. I combat it with love and understanding. If someone's yelling at me and wants to fight with me, which has happened once before, since then for a silly reason, I just, instead of fighting fear with fear or whatever, I felt sorry for the person, and I told him, and I understand, and I wished him best, and the look on his face, because he was expecting a fight fire with fire reaction, and when people get this reaction from that thing, the look on their face is worth $1 million. It's like they don't know what to do. It humbles them in a way. They're like, what? They don't know what their next reaction is, because they thought their next action was to because they thought that they knew what you were going to react like, and they already prepared that reaction. And when you don't get in that reaction,
what if you send this entity love? What if you send it goodwill and love? How does it react? Or have you not ever tried that?
No, it just shuts down. Like when I think about it, when I think of love, like when I combat its negativity through my thoughts with positive words, then that's it. There's no, there's no real. Okay, so the only communication is some thoughts. The energy, well, it's energy. I don't sit there with my arm anymore, and
try to talk to it.
Yeah, try and talk to it or whatever,
Does it ever try about it. Does it ever try to talk to you? Or does it just fill your mind full of crap?
Yeah, I don't think it tries to talk to me. It just fills my mind with thoughts.
Does it still take your pain away? Does it still take your pain away, like your herniated disc and such?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure. And in a way, I can control this energy with my mind, because I'm sharing its power. It's in my consciousness. It has it has my thoughts and everything, but its energy, I can control it with my mind up and down my body as well, to a certain extent.
Do you think? I'm sorry, but do you think the Brujas do that on purpose so that they can gain more power with their magic, so that they take on these things and try to wield it, because and maybe that's part of why these things work with the Brujas. Maybe that's how it got attached, because that was this kind of same magic.
Yeah, it was quite possible, definitely a connection with these negative energies. The Brujas, the witchcraft people practicing witchcraft, they're obviously connecting to these negative entities, because they're not connecting to positive ones, because the positive ones they're not going to go ahead with. They know better, So
it's like they're gaining power, like you're gaining a certain power, I guess, the healing, at least taking the pain away. Take the pain away.
Yeah, if I was an evil person, then I know, well, I mean evil, but not a positive, not a good person. And I believe that I know people that are affected by these entities, that have had entities that, these sorts of things happen to them, and they're not good people like myself. So they're now exploiting other people. And this is what these entities do. This is what these Brujas do. They exploit people.
They have no morals.
Seen many people in the plant medicine community, who I believe have had these things into them, and they're now exploiting the scene. They're exploiting the plant medicine scene. They're exploiting the people, and maybe
just like Big Pharma does.
And the government,
right?
Government. And these powers, it's actually the individual person. Because I'm thinking, if I was the person 20 years ago and this happened, I might decide to join the dark side and, and be a real prick to everyone, and do bad things.
Maybe it would give you more, like it gives the meth heads knowledge of how to get more meth and such. Maybe. Yeah. Like if you gave to it with blood sacrifice or something, maybe if you had, done the rituals like the Brujas do, maybe you would gain more powers. I'm not trying to inspire people to go do such a thing, or even to take these medicines if you're not careful. This is,
Well, Frank, you were saying you can't trust anything it says, right?
No, it's full of lies. And especially the questions about where it's from and what it is, it refuses to even answer that or give me any sort of hint. And even I said, what if we make a deal? We've got to share consciousness. You've got to live in my body. I've got to have you here. You know, it's a long time. Let's make a deal. Let's work things out. We might be able to, you know, tell me what you want, what you need. I can give it to you. Let's do a trade. No, there's absolutely no. You know, I've said to her, are you me?
Wow.
Have I got, has the substance, are you me, as in saying, what I did, has it split my consciousness and created another me, which is a negative version of me or something? Yeah. You know, no, but it could be. Who knows? You know, who knows? All I know is that it's not me. It's made of energy, and it's part of me now. It's what can I do about it? I really, you know, I believe that what's done is done. The damage is done. This is why I went searching for answers using DMT a few times, because I thought maybe the substance got me into this. Maybe it can get me out of this. Because I've tried everything else physical, a lot of things physical in this world, seeing shamans, paranormal people doing all sorts of things, and nothing's helped, nothing's changed. So I went looking at DMT a few times, and it's different. It doesn't affect me like it is before. The videos aren't in colour, they're in black and white, like a black and white television.
Wow.
I can control what I see with my mind. If I picture something, there it is in sacred geometry.
Wow.
You know, I sat there on DMT and said, show me your face. Show me who you are. And the geometry formed itself in a elongated face.
What did it look like?
Yeah, good question.
It looked like a face. Am I saying it right? Elongated?
Elongated, like it's got a big, like Jay Leno or something.
Did it look long? Did it look human, or did it look some other way?
Yeah, it looks similar to human, I would say. Yeah, definitely. But a really obviously demonic-looking sort of thing.
Could you see its eyes?
Not that I probably could, but I didn't take too much notice. It was more the outline and just the whole elongated face that was like, because it's all made of geometry, it's and again it's in black and white. Who gets, you know, it's in black and white. This is what's told me. I've done something to the 5-HT receptors in my brain, which the Harmalan effects. The Harmalan, or the inhibitor, is supposed to be reversible, and I believe it hasn't reversed. So that's why the theory that from the shamans that I have a gateway open, and if the Harmalan hasn't reversed, and I've got a direct connection. I can tell you right now, even when I'm on no substance, when I change the filter of light from light to dark, as soon as I go in dark, I see geometry. It's like DMT land for a second.
Oh, really?
Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Like when you push on your eyes and like...
Yes, it's the full geometry, yeah. I don't even push, I just...
Well, no, I mean, but like a normal person, like it, I mean, if you push pressure, like it creates like a pattern color.
Yeah. Yeah, well, now, you know what you're describing there? What you're describing there, when you take DMT... Yeah, sorry, go, Jared.
Go ahead.
How does it affect your dreams?
Okay, my dreams?
Do you dream? Do you have nightmares?
Oh, wow. Okay. I either have nightmares, okay, I have really bad nightmares, but they're lucid. I mean more lucid than lucid. And I have these dreams, these lucid dreams, that when I'm in it, there's something so crazy happening or whatever, I question whether it's real, whether I'm dreaming. So, but when I'm questioning it, it's like I am right now. I'm here, awake, and I'm saying to myself, this isn't real. But it is real, right? But because of what's happening is so supernatural in that, I know I'm smarter than that. Like, this isn't real. I am dreaming. And then
it's very vivid.
I would be, and then I would sort of be there in my mind, and I know I could see myself lying in bed, and I know I'm dreaming, but I'm still standing there in a dream, like I am right here. That it's fucking real. It's more real.
Well, you see yourself like like astral projection.
I know I'm dreaming. I've been a lucid dream that there's real like this, but I know I'm dreaming.
Right.
Do you travel around? Can you travel around in that dream?
Yeah, most of the time I can fly. Most of the time I can fly.
Different places?
This is why I question. and it's real. This is why I questioned in the dream. I said, this isn't real, but I know I'm dreaming, but it's real. And it's not flying, it's more floating.
Do you have a repetitive dream, to a particular one that just repeats over and over again?
The actual, the dreams are all different, but what's the same about them is that I can float through the air. I can float.
When you use, I heard in other interviews you say that you use cannabis a lot. When you use a lot of cannabis, does it suppress the dreams? Because I use cannabis like all day, and I don't dream. Like, it's just because it takes the melatonin away.
So
it does help to suppress.
I've been a constant cannabis user all my life, and I've been using it medically, since for quite a bit now. And yes, it most 100%. And when it can help
it can help to put the bad dreams away, and you don't have to be.
And it helps me sleep. Like without it, I can't sleep. It's just my mind's clicking over, or a million miles an hour. I'll be up till 5 in. It's daytime. I get up a few hours later. I'm so tired because I haven't slept. Then I can sleep. But I went. I don't know if you heard in the other interview, but I went almost a whole month without taking cannabis because there's pros and cons. And so I tried going without for a whole month, which was great. And when you smoke every day, you don't get the same effects. Your tolerance is up, and you go out a few days, and you just have a little bit, and you're really high. Okay. So I went almost a month without it, and when I did smoke it, it was DMT. It was DMT. The energy picked up. I was full on in DMT vision.
I know that it is. If you do eat, if you eat large doses, then you can have visionary experience on just cannabis. That is possible. It can hit those receptors, but it's crazy that just a little bit of smoke will. That's really, that's really.
And it was the same. It was the same with 1 gram of mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. I did 1
some
gram
mushrooms. 1 gram is all you need. Whoa, yeah. Some mushrooms.
I tell you what happened.
Strain? Do you remember the strain of the mushroom?
They were gold tops that my friend grew. He grew them.
Okay, like Thai cubensis,
and I did them with a lemon tech, and within 5 minutes. It wasn't just mushrooms.
5 minutes.
It was DMT effects for 4 hours.
Right. Well, mushrooms are a tryptamine. So, when you ingest it breaks down, and it is the same almost because it's hitting the same kind of receptor. So, but it's interesting that in only 5 minutes, whoa, you drank was it a brew?
No, I just chopped them up and the lemon juice. But this is what tells me the harm line hasn't reversed. I've had 8 grams of mushrooms previous to all this, and I wasn't like DMT. It wasn't DMT. This is just anything I take, is like DMT. It's DMT. Even alcohol. I don't drink, but I did the test with alcohol originally to see what was going on, and I drank 2 beers, and it was like a carton. And all I want to do is crawl up with my eyes closed. I've got my eyes closed, and I'm seeing all the geometry.
Wow.
So it's not the substance; it's the what's going on in here in my pineal. I've got a direct gateway to wherever we go.
Okay, well, guys, I got to sign off. I got some things to do before the sun goes down, and I'm running out of sun here.
Right. Sorry that we ran it so long, but it's such an
I'll leave you guys. Go ahead and continue. I'm just going to bow out.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Jerry. Oh, before you go, we want to tell everybody to visit jerrymarzinsky.com. You wrote a book, The Amazing Journey, the Psychotic Mind, and people should check out your book. They can get it at lulu.com. Yeah, perfect. Lulu.com or Amazon, and visit his website. And he has a practice of counseling, psychology. He can, if you are afflicted, send him an email. There's a contact on your website. Thank you, Jerry, so much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure, and I hope to speak with you again soon.
Okay. All right. See you guys.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, see you, Frank. You guys go ahead and continue. I just need to bow out.
Thank you, Jerry.
No,
All right. See you guys later.
If you would like to stay, Frank, I do have more time. This is great. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Ask me what you want. I'm really easy.
Awesome. Well, so you feel like you have a handle on it now that you're not taking substances anymore?
I think it's just nothing changed whether I'm on substances or not. I don't think anything's changed when I'm using cannabis. Obviously, the downside is that you know how you get the munchies, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's feeding off my energy, it gives me more than the munchies. The way I scoff the food down and the amount that I eat, it's not me. Even before this, when I'd get the munchies, I never ate like this. I never, eating till you're sick and stuff like this, and and just
and
eating.
You're not overweight, like you're not like super overweight either. Like it's interesting.
No, I'm quite healthy.
Right.
I started working with psychedelics and that because I came across it actually through my research when I actually woke up and learned to think for myself and went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So I learned about foods and health, and so I eat once a day. I'm on I do a MAD diet. I think it's called a MAD diet or something. It's where you just eat once a day. You eat as much as what you want, and you will lose weight. Okay.
Well, I usually eat once a day anyway. Like, I don't make enough money to eat more than that.
I think there's nothing natural about having 3 meals a day. Animals in the wild only eat when they're hungry or when they don't know they're going to get another meal. There's nothing normal about or natural about having 3 meals in one day.
Do you think that because the part of your brain that controls want of food is the same part of the brain that cocaine really hammers hard, and other uppers too, and we talked about how meth gets connected to the shadow people or whatnot. Like, do you think that there's something to that? Maybe because it's controlling that part of the brain for that.
Yeah, definitely, because it's not just with foods; it's with all my sort of, you can say, addictions or vices. It attacks them and people who are on different meth and whatever. I do believe that these different drugs can take you to darker realms. I think the drugs like alcohol and meth, speed and heroin.
Have you ever tried salvia with all your experience? I mean, everybody I've ever talked to has had a horrific experience, including myself. Like, I became 2-dimensional. I was part of the wall. I was like, reality's gone. Here we go. Like, I accepted that, like, oh, now I've done it. And like, it was scary. And everybody else that, like, I talked to another good friend, he's like, I was divided in half, my body cut in half, like, like scary situations. Are you familiar with salvia divinorum?
No, I know about it. I had some growing, and the garden.
Growing, it's fine. Yeah, I smoked 80x. This stuff is like 80 times, and it's like it shouldn't be done. Like, I think there's only one higher. It's like 120. Like, they only people, if you like grow it, then like you chew the leaf or something, it's different. It's not.
Yeah, I came across
that stuff is scary. Don't take it. And it's legal here in America. Like, that's the one that's legal, but it scares the shit out of you. Nobody wants to do that again. You know what I mean?
I heard stories from people. Yeah, I heard stories from people, but at the time I was hearing all these stories and intrigued about it. I was quite happy with DMT, and
was it before your encounter with this entity? Like, I mean, I'm sure nowadays, like, never, like, oh.
No, definitely. Definitely before. I'd actually done the transition from using DMT to Changa. Are you familiar with Changa?
Yeah.
Changa. Yeah, like, because
that's an inert plant, right? But then they add DMT crystals to it.
Yeah, basically what it is.
Changa.
Yeah, the quick explanation of Changa, or Changa, depends how you pronounce it, but it's basically, for it to be Changa, it has to have an inhibitor in it, which is either the Syrian rue seed or ayahuasca vine. The ayahuasca vine, for people out there, that has no DMT in it.
Right.
Okay, it's only inhibitor. It's
right.
the chacruna.
It allows the chacruna to, like, the chacruna is high in DMT, and you know, and so it allows the further, because it's so prevalent in nature, our body digests the stuff and won't let it get to our consciousness. So the inhibitor, it inhibits that digestion so that it gets to our intestines, where it can affect our blood and it gets brought to the brain, and then all the magic happens. Right.
And that's why DMT freebase is so popular, because you don't need an inhibitor because it's smoked, and you know, you're not
straight from straight to lungs, brain, and then the brain's like, oh, I recognize this, and it breaks down real quick. It's like 6 minutes later, it's like you blast off. 6 minutes later, it starts to dissolve. But 15 minutes later, you're normal again. It's like whatever.
Yeah. Unless you have a super high dose, you can go for up to an hour, which I used to do quite regularly.
Wow. Yeah. Smoked?
By super high dose, people aren't going to believe me. I have witnesses. I don't lie. I'm talking almost a whole gram of DMT.
Jesus. Okay. In one, like, bowl pack? Like,
which is like 10, 20 times, in the form of
a normal dose is like a 10th, right? Like a 10th of a
so
gram.
Even a 20th, 50 milligram is depending on the person for a breakthrough dose. But I would smoke a whole gram of Changa at over 50% in a large cone. I have leather lungs. When you're halfway through, you already can't see whether open or closed. It's all same. You're already way out there, and you're still taking it. You're still going, and you will have a Kundalini experience. I found that the Changa breakthrough is a lot better than a DMT breakthrough, because you have more time to maneuver. You're not being shot out of a cannon like you are with freebase.
Right.
You have time to maneuver, which was great for me because I could navigate through the realms and through the different doors, and it was actually like a puzzle to me. Each room had a puzzle, and you try and work it out to get to the next room.
Interesting. Do you think that relates to the like the Buddhists have a Book of the Dead, where they have to go through the bardos and they travel? Same thing with the Egyptian Book of the Dead, like they got to go through these trials, and like is that similar? Like, is that what
it's possibly the case. It's all, it's a place that it's the opposite to this realm. This realm, we're in a state of fear. We're in a state of fear. What's the opposite of fear? Love. And as soon as anybody takes a small hit of DMT, you get this huge loving feeling over your body that's glowing. But is it a trick? Is it a facade to lead you, to make you think, to make you come
Lucifer bathes himself in light,
Exactly.
Like, okay.
Why do no good entities come in? Why do people have no good ones attached to them? What's going on here? It's not what people think. It's not what people think.
And
it's just the positive results I've got, and the experience and all the love and everything. I can't help but think that maybe it's all an illusion.
Yeah.
And these things are answering this with this love there, but actually coming back. And then, because I can tell you that, a lot of people that use these substances, they're worse.
They're worse off later. You're starting to get choppy a little bit. Yeah.
It's not. It's a hard one. It's what's going on, but
right.
So,
but what's happened to you is like different from normal schizophrenia, where you invited it in. And it doesn't give you like words, like speak. It gives you like thoughts, I guess. Is there a difference there?
Yes, schizophrenia is the words like you get voices. To me, it's not
voices.
It's my thoughts. you know, and out of all the parallels that Jerry showed me, Jerry sent me a list of the symptoms. It was like, I can only read to 2 of them. You know?
Okay. So you're having a different phenomenon. It's still like I would still say that this is a non-corporeal entity, just the same as schizophrenia. But schizophrenics, they're like, I talked to Jerry and he was talking about how it's like they're checking in for work, like they're clocking in, like, oh, it's my turn to screw with your head, you know, and like they got a boss somewhere and they're trying to make you harm yourself and kill yourself, because it doesn't matter if you, but this thing that you have, it's like it's in you and it's happy to be there and it's trying to be symbiotic with you. It's totally different. It's not checking out and checking in again. It's like always there.
If you want to play the video, this in black and white when I'm seeing it there, the way, if you look at my eyes,
the first video that we played.
No, it's a black and white. If you have a look,
I'll get it. Keep talking about it. I'll find it. I'll get it.
If you look at this, the way it's mad and the way it's looking around, it's almost like it's surprised. Like it's like, what am I doing here? Where am I? You know, it's like maybe it had no choice. You know, like this is out there. Something maybe because it almost looks surprised. It's like, where am I? Like, you know, man, what have you done? Type thing.
It's like it was put there by the Bruja, and it's like, what am I doing in this place? Like, right?
Yeah,
you know, maybe it is. Maybe it just died or something.
Yeah, there's 3 different parts of how it got into me. One through a Bruja, through a retreat center that I've been to before. 2, just because of the substances I did. Okay. And
like you just hit the certain key that opens the door, and then whatever comes because the substances. That's what your second idea of, like, maybe it was that the harmaline. Right. Yeah, the harmaline.
DMT. Like I have my normal dose of DMT. The harmaline probably got it 50 times stronger.
Right.
Okay? Because it made the LSD 50 times stronger, because it took the LSD before the DMT. And when I was peaking on LSD, my friend said, because this is what our objective on this day was to use the harmaline and the LSD and the DMT for the first time. So when we were on the LSD after the harmaline, it was crazy. It was like taking 100. I don't know. At the peak of it, my friend said, let's do it. And I said, no, this is way too much. Let's just wait a bit. And we waited till it came down.
Even for you saying it's too much, that's funny. Yeah.
Oh, man, it was like, it was crazy. It was really crazy. And the third reason what may have entered me is that one of the people that
I think I have the black and white one where it's mad. You said, here, let me share the screen.
Just the third one. There's a couple of them. They're both pretty much similar.
It said mad in the title, so I grabbed that one. Wow.
Yes, yeah, I think it's the other one, but this one's good.
So
too.
It has control of your arm at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. In my mind, I'm still me. If I go against its will, like with my mouth and my body, it really hurts my muscles, so I just let it flow. And the energy's pretty strong, so and I'm just sitting back, letting it do its thing, like freaking out. I start crying almost because it's freaking me out. You know, you got to remember, for the past 2 weeks, I'm thinking this is a good entity. It's a human from the future, and look what it's doing now. And I'm just like, wow, this has changed my whole perspective. It's turned my world upside down. I'm freaking out. I don't know what's going on. I've got no control over my body. It's obviously not a good thing. My friend's just like, what the hell is going on? And this thing's showing its true colors.
Wow.
There's actually the other video that's in black and white where it's just looking around and you can see my eyes. I've got no control over my eyes, but my eyes are moving. You know, it's got control of my eyes, my body. This is when I started to lose it a bit. I almost started crying, I think.
Wow.
And the third possibility of how this got into me, which is what I thought originally, was one of the guys that was out there. He right? I didn't know.
I'm sorry, I could barely hear you. What you're kind of chopping up a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead and repeat that, please.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So one of the guys that was out there, he got into previously, he did really big coverage. And I didn't know this guy too well, but after all this happened, we were talking. He told me how he played with a Ouija board once when he was a kid and tried to sell his soul for $10 million in a skateboard, and that he physically saw things moving across the room when they were playing with the Ouija board. And he actually even cut himself in the chest in the shape of a pentagram. And because this person is on hard drugs,
it wasn't his will to do that. It just happened. It just made him do that. He didn't try to. He wasn't like, oh, this is cool. It was like carving a pentagram on his chest.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, he was young, and he's had a hard sense with hugs, and he's actually using these substances to the drugs, and it's helping him. He had this inside him, and when he did DMT out there, he purged. And we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's space there, so they're hanging around in the space, and then I go and do this with what I did, blow my consciousness out there, and this thing's jumped in. And this was a possibility for me for a long time.
That makes sense.
Because when the shaman came in, and so I'm thinking, I went to Peru thinking that's how I got it. And then when I went to Peru, and the shaman said, no, this was an attack. Someone put them in there, and there's 7 of them in there. I didn't know what to believe. I was like, here we go. So that's just another theory.
Yeah. Wow.
See it looking around and with the eyes moving, looking. Is this the same video? Or? Yeah.
This is the other one where you said the other black and white one. This one's titled It's Energy. DMT number 2.
See my eyes looking around, and here comes the big growl, I think. I don't know. In between all these clips, at one stage I said to it, are you reptilian? And it just slithered like a snake. Yeah, my whole body leant forward, and my tongue was out going like this.
Wow. So are you familiar with the rabbit hole of reptilians? Supposedly I'm not condoning this theory, but supposedly they change, their face changes, like it takes over, like maybe I don't know, but maybe this entity is reptilian, because if it controls the lower part of the brain, maybe that is what because it's in right, like when it was alive, it didn't have a forethinking consciousness brain, so like when it's now it's here in your body, it doesn't know how to use one of those. Like that's who knows, I don't know, it's weird to think about. Yeah, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. I don't know. Thank you so much. It's really been a delight, and it's such an amazing story, and I'm glad that you've been able to get a handle on it, like to keep it under control. And I hope you find some sort of way to take full control of your body and get it out of you. I hope you on your journey. I wish you the best of luck with this, and I also hope to speak with you again, and we would love to have your voice here again on Wake the Dead some other day if you choose. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much. Pleasure, and especially someone talking all these substances. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, man. And thank you, listeners, for listening to another Wake the Dead. We will catch you next time. Thank you.